think that's... Audio from the game is low enough, I believe. My microphone, I think, is turned on this time. I swear, if it's not, I'm going to be super upset. I think I'm okay at this point. Otherwise, if I have not been able to maintain the stream quality or the preciseness of setting up a stream now, I will be pretty upset. What's up, boys? Mr. Happa, my main man, Franco Greco, joining in the stream. What's up, guys? Hopefully you're doing well, and everyone else tuning in. What's up, Toshi, Diego Martinez, Succeed, Ultimate Spider-Man, Physical Agent, Shadow Marauder, YT Tropical Rifts, Local Spidey Fam, Thazen Taylor, Comic Book King, Azriel YT, Abdullah, Ruben Silva. What's up, boys? How's it going? Your timeline? Thanks for tuning in, guys. Hopefully you are having a good... What's today? Tuesday? Tuesday afternoon. Right now it is 2 p.m. Pacific time for me, or at least it's getting close to that, on December 8th. Yes? I believe so. Yes, I'm looking at my phone on the side, which is attached to a charger in the wall, which you can't see. But if you see me looking down, I'm seeing my phone. Yes, I believe the mic is on and the video camera's on. And Franco, if you are here... yes, I am excited for Thursday for the Game Awards, what Franco is talking about. Very, very excited. Hopefully, I've already said this in my previous live stream, I believe, but hopefully, in my eyes, I want Ghost of Tsushima to win Game of the Year, because that's the one I believe deserves it the most. We were previously talking about Persona 5 Royal and Miles Morales not being nominated for Game of the Year, but they are nominated for certain categories of the Game Awards, which is interesting. So they're nominated for Best Action Adventure Game and Best Role-Playing Game. But Franco, if you're here and you want to join in the party really quick, we can. If you can invite me to make it easier for myself, we can join in and the chat can hear us talk about stuff. But yes, hopefully you guys are doing okay. I think you are able to hear me through my mic, because I'm always terrible when setting that up beforehand. But yes, we have lots of stuff to talk about today. I was kind of debating whether or not I could do a video, a normal discussion video about this. But then I thought, well, I was and still am planning to finish Miles Morales with New Game Plus pretty much. Story that we're doing with our, replaying the game with New Game Plus, and I guess we'll just start playing while I'm waiting for you guys. And there is the main story mission, but we are going to start off with Teo's Bodega in the spider training suit. That's the costume that we'll start with right now. While we're chatting, yes, get Shrek 69 to you guys. Let's see. I usually don't ask this, but let's see if we can get to 70,000 subscribers before the end of the year. I think that's possible. I'm really hoping that we can do it. 1,000 people to hop in on the Spidey Squad hype train, the Spidey community. That'd be fantastic. You can hear me clearly, I recommend. That's fantastic. Awesome. I'm glad that you can. And again, all thanks to you guys for allowing me to be able to do stuff like this. Just chat with you guys, having fun. And also, happy launch day as well for Kate Bishop in Marvel's Avengers, which is another Marvel-related thing that's happening today, besides the Spider-Man 3 news, which we will be talking about. If you're still having fun with Avengers, I'm glad for, the minority of people out there who do like that game. I like the campaign of it, I like aspects of it, but for the most part, it just kind of fell flat for me in a lot of areas. But today, if you guys are unaware, Kate Bishop has been added into the game for free as a part of the story expansion content, the extra characters that they'll add in for years to come after loads of delays on her part. It was supposed to come out in October. It's already December, so it's kind of late, not really like an ideal situation for her to be involved in the game at such a late time, but for anyone who's excited about that, at least now you have the opportunity to play as her in the game, if you're wanting to. I have not played as her yet. I still have not been able to play the game today because I was, gathering footage for a video that I probably will do down the line, and I might make it a collab video with maybe Slickmoff or Degenerate J or Salvage or any one of the, Gotham Knights boys or Spidey fans out there who obviously, like myself, are major fans of Spider-Man, or any one of the Spidey Squad members as well, if they want to get in on that, to talk about Spider-Man 3. Just like Get Shrek asked, what is the Spider-Man 3 news? Yes. Holy smokes, there is a lot. If you guys are on social media with Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, I mainly just use YouTube and Twitter. Those are my main go-to platforms pretty much. And Franco, I'm terrible at multitasking, so if you invited me to a party, let me know so I can quickly just hop in a chat with you really quick. I'm not trying to do that. But yes, Kate Bishop is out for Marvel's Avengers really quick, just to reiterate, so hopefully you guys are having fun. I have not played as her yet, but I will. I might do it in a live stream or a video down the line, but since no one, not to be mean, but it doesn't seem like a lot of you guys are interested in the videos that I make for Marvel's Avengers, so I kind of have been holding that off a bit, pretty much. But if you are, wanting to hear me talk about Marvel's Avengers or whatever, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to do it. But for Spider-Man 3 specifically, because Marvel's Avengers is a whole thing in of itself with the status of that game, where we have talked about it in a previous video, but just, man, the status of what's happening there is subpar, to say the least. But Kate Bishop will hopefully bring some levity to the game that wasn't there before, with getting more players invested in the game, and oh, there's a new character, so I could hop back in, try her out, play her campaign, unlock a few suits, and then play with my friends, and then hop back out. Or play it long term, like, this is fantastic, I can't wait for the next character. So we'll see what's happening on that front. But yes, main topic at hand, which is what this main stream is primarily going to be about. And Franco, if you want to invite me into a party, really quick, just to check, in case I'm stupid and I haven't seen your invite, I want to see... I don't think you sent me an invite, but I'm also very bad at checking messages on the chat, so let me know when you decide to do that, or if anyone else wants to hop into a party, we can try and discuss it together as a community. Yes, holy smokes, there's a lot happening right now with Spider-Man 3. So, like 2 hours ago, maybe 1 hour ago or so, the first news that came out, which, if you guys don't know, we're talking about MCU Spider-Man 3 with Tom Holland as the lead role. It was confirmed, 110% confirmed, official, not fake, confirmed by The Hollywood Reporter, as well as other sites like Collider and IGN, that, firstly, Alfred Molina, who you know as the one and only Dr. Octopus from Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire, who played Otto Octavius in that movie, apparently it is officially confirmed he is going to be reprising the role as Otto Octavius in MCU's Spider-Man 3. Now, we don't know... This is also alongside the news that Jamie Foxx is apparently also returning as Electro within MCU Spider-Man 3. We're just calling it Spider-Man 3. Tom Holland's Spider-Man 3, the movie after Far From Home, the Tom Holland trilogy of Spider-Man films, Homecoming, Far From Home, and whatever this next one's going to be, the third one is Spider-Man 3. Not Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 3, but Tom Holland's Spider-Man 3. Just to clarify that. Just totally dropped my controller because I'm freaking out about this news. This is a brand new controller too. What am I doing? Anyways, and my head's spinning in circles right now because I'm trying to keep all this in mind. So, confirmed, massive bombshell of the day, that Alfred Molina is apparently returning as Otto Octavius. Secondly, apparently everyone is coming back. It's like Smash, Smash Bros. Ultimate, for Switch. They're all coming back. This is like what's happening with this movie. So, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Kristen Dunst, who's Mary Jane from that, Tobey Maguire movies if you don't know, and Emma Stone, who's Gwen Stacy, who literally, by the way, is like my favorite actress of all time to play like a comic book character. Like, specifically, like there's, of course, Scarlett Johansson is Black Widow, Elizabeth Olsen is Scarlet Witch, and Kristen Dunst as Mary Jane. Even though she's not like a hero per se, she's like a side character / love interest for Peter Parker, Emma Stone is literally the most definitive casting choice I've ever seen for like a movie of a comic book character in my entire life. Her chemistry with Andrew Garfield in those films is like the highlight of the entire movie. So she's back with Kristen Dunst, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire, all returning for Tom Holland's Spider-Man 3. What the hell is going on? And I saw Franco's invite. Let me do this little side quest really quick to save Spider-Man the cat, and then I'll join you, Franco, and then we can hear your thoughts as well. But that's what's happening right now. insane. It just happened out of nowhere. Just drop the news bomb like that. I probably will, like I said, do a video about it with a friend of mine on YouTube and collab and discuss back and forth, like, what are your thoughts about this? Is this cool? Like, certainly an interesting decision to do. But that's confirmed. They're all going to be back in Tom Holland's Spider-Man 3, and it's very, very strange, especially for Andrew Garfield in particular, considering how, you know, it's infamously known that he left pretty much on bad terms with Sony after The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and he's gone on record saying that it broke his heart, saying that he had to leave that role because of how Sony treated Andrew, which was not deserving at all for him, and the amazing work that he put into the character of Peter Parker. And while obviously I prefer, like, Tobey Maguire's movie over Andrew's, I still love Andrew as an actor, and his portrayal of Peter Parker was definitely unique, to say the least. But so that's why I find it a bit confusing. So apparently it's confirmed that he's returning as Peter even after all the stuff that happened between him and Sony. So I'm confused about that. Same thing with Kristen Dunst and Emma Stone. Now those four, and apparently it's said that the deal is still being worked out between Tobey Maguire and Sony in order for him to come back to the role of Peter Parker. But it seems like it's a lock for sure that they will be doing, pretty much making MCU Spider-Man 3 a Spider-Verse movie. You'll bring back Otto. Now, we don't know for sure if this is the same Otto Octavius from the Spider-Man 2 movie, obviously, because in that film he died at the end. Spoilers, even though it's like, what, over a decade old now? He dies at the end of that film. You know, he sacrifices himself because he turns out to understand that the tentacles are taking over his mind with the, you know, the inhibitor chip, and realizes, whoa, massive screen blur right there for the, oh boy. Yeah, someone asked, are we playing this on PS5? Nope, this is still PS4 graphics, and you can see from the blurriness of the resolution for some of these shots. Yep, no, this is still PS4. I wish I had PS5. Can't do anything about it, though. It is what it is. Yes, Franco, I did see your invite, and I will join it right after this cutscene. And I'm assuming you guys can hear me, otherwise I would be depressed that I've been talking this whole time on mute. But yeah, you know, again, like, Alfred Molina's Otto died in Spider-Man 2. He had a whole narrative arc about being a bad guy and turning into a good guy, or was a good guy originally, turned into a bad guy, and then understood the wrongdoings of his actions because of the death of his wife Rosie and the masterpiece he was creating with the fusion reactor. So he learned from his mistakes and grew because of that, and also allowed Tobey as Peter to grow as that character. So if they brought him back, the same version of that Otto Octavius from the film, back to life in this MCU Spider-Man 3, make no sense. It would make absolutely no sense. Same thing with Electro even, Jamie Foxx. He quote-unquote died at the end of The Amazing Spider-Man 2. He overloaded with electricity, but that could be explained some crazy way, like, oh, the electricity manifested into interdimensional energy and he transported into the MCU reality versus The Amazing Spider-Man 2 reality. It's insane. It's insane. I understand what's happening, and I have a little bit of an issue with it as a whole. But see, we did this mission now. I'm going to join Franco's party because I see his invite, our boy Franco Greco, and we will conversate with the main man. Let's see. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. Hopefully the joining party does not lag this stream, because I know that my internet's terrible. Just hang in there, boys. I understand. Like, I rarely stream. You guys know me as it is. So this is nuts. Franco, what's good, buddy? All right. Let's see. I'm going to turn the volume up a little bit on my side so I can hear you. And just to double check, because this was an issue last time, guys, in the stream, are you able to hear Franco, by the way? And I'll also check on my phone to see if the stream is actually working, because sometimes it doesn't work. And also on Twitter to double check the link actually worked to share.
Yeah, just let me know.
Let's see. I can hear you, Franco. You sound loud on my end. But people in the chat, if you can hear Franco, let us know. Yes, you hear him. Fantastic. Awesome. Danielle Anzaldi, thank you very much. Rafik Yegohayan, Queese Grism, Arrow, Resident Justice, Ultimate Spider-Man. Sorry if I'm missing anyone's names. I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you're having a relaxing Tuesday afternoon. If you're on winter break or close to being on winter break, hopefully you're doing okay. Because, man, this year's been rough. But with this news, it's been just like a I don't know, like a dump truck of info. Like, I don't even know if I can be hyped for this, because I'll say my piece, and then Franco, you can tell me your bit. I am conflicted about this news. So if you're just tuning in, welcome. The short and sweet version of it is, apparently for the MCU's version of Spider-Man 3, it's all back. It's like Smash Bros. Ultimate. They're coming back. Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, Emma Stone, and Alfred Molina, and Jamie Foxx, as their respective characters from each of their films, are coming back now for MCU Spider-Man 3 in Tom Holland's film. Because, by the way, this is still a Tom Holland-centered movie, but it sounds like they're just turning this into Spider-Verse live action. And that's my main problem, because I do not like the majority of Tom Holland's movies, but I like Tom Holland as Spider-Man, if that makes sense. So I think Homecoming is okay in some elements. It's enjoyable, it's fun, but it's not like the best Spider-Man movie I've ever seen. And you guys know me, infamously know me, for hating Far From Home. I despise that movie with a passion. Franco knows this, the Spidey Squad knows this to a T. Yeah, it's... Oh, you guys know me for sure. I am not a fan of that movie. I'm sorry. If you guys like it, I'm happy for you, but me, it's not for me. I will say that to a short extent, the most minimalistic way I can put it. I am not a fan.
But please, but please don't attack him. Please do not attack him for his opinions.
I know,
right?
It's okay though. I understand their frustration, because I know I understand what they feel, what they must be feeling. But yes, if you like it, happy for you. If you don't like it, that's fine. I'm not trying to discredit your opinion. I just personally am not a fan of Far From Home. But with this news that Spider-Man 3 will essentially be a Spider-Verse movie, that's my problem. Because I would think that you would have some more focus on Tom Holland's character. Luis Kutab, hey, I've been watching your channel since the build-up to Marvel Spider-Man 1. You're the real MVP. Still crazy there's an Easter egg of the Spidey Squad in the game. Thank you, dude. It's all because of you guys that the Easter egg is even in the game in the first place. I sadly can't show off the Easter egg now because we're playing Miles Morales, but also, if I had a PS5, I wish I could go in and check the PS5 rendered version of the Spidey Squad logo. Franco has seen it, though, because he does have a PS5.
Yeah,
and has seen the Spidey Squad logo in the game, remastered on PS5, which must be like the craziest thing to see.
It is. Like, oh my god. That's why I always save the best for last.
That's right. Is it fully ray traced? Because I personally don't know. Like, do the collectibles look visually improved, or are they just like the same?
Yeah, like they look like the textures have been up-resed to look a little bit better on the PS5.
That is really fantastic. Good. Man, if only whenever I get a PS5, I will. That's like the first thing I will check on for sure, and I'm sure it's going to look absolutely gorgeous. But yes, to go back to the MCU stuff, it's like I am not a fan of Tom Holland's movies because of the writing that the script has for his iteration of Peter Parker / Spider-Man. Tom Holland himself is doing a great job with what he's given. It's just sadly that the material, in my opinion, doesn't necessarily do justice, at least enough justice, in Far From Home. Homecoming is alright. Homecoming is less of an issue. It's mainly where Far From Home backtracks a lot of stuff. And mainly that's because of the writing, as I've said, and John Watts, the director. In my opinion, I don't think John Watts understands Spider-Man at all. And it's very prevalent with certain elements that he chooses to do with Peter Parker and trying to individualize himself from the other heroes of the Avengers, and even the fact that he like gets along with them like he's some sort of massive fanboy, where we've seen it in clear as day Civil War, the first introduction to Spider-Man in the MCU universe, the Avengers movie universe, is that he kind of got along with Tony Stark and the other Avengers he was teaming up with, but he wasn't like fawning over them 24/7. He even said, like, I gotta impress Mr. Stark, but make myself known and be on the same level as the Avengers. Not like, oh my god, I gotta make sure that I, hype up Mr. Stark because he's the best. He was like, Stark said you'd say that. Like, oh, he also said to go for your legs. So he's kind of like communicating with them on an equal level. Like he's treating them as their equals, not as like he's their underling or sidekick or something. So in Civil War, I thought that's been the best portrayal of Tom Holland's Spider-Man that we have seen so far. Homecoming was okay, but Far From Home just totally backtracked massively in some narrative elements. Like, immediately example is where it's the scene where they're in the Quinjet, or is it a Quinjet? It's just a jet or something, where they're over that flower field, and Happy picks Peter back up after the run-in with Mysterio, and he's like, you don't have to be the next Iron Man. Like Tony couldn't even live up to Tony, and no one could live up to who he is. He pretty much just told him, like, be yourself. That's pretty much what the message was for that moment of the movie. Is that was the be yourself moment of Far From Home. But what happened is that immediately following that, he then makes a Spider-Man suit with Tony Stark's tech while playing Black Sabbath. And it's like, oh, he's not the next Iron Man. While clearly showing he's kind of in the current shoes of what Iron Man would have done. So it just, like, that totally, like, it was like a backslap to the face. Like, okay, like, what? Didn't you just... Like, the main message of Homecoming was to try and individualize Peter from Iron Man, even though that's never been a thing in the comics. Peter's always been different enough from the Avengers and the other, teammates in the Marvel Universe with powers, and he's always kind of got along with them, or just kind of be at odds with them, but never, like, be their #1 fan. And I get it, he's younger, he's not as experienced in the MCU in his films, so he's kind of, like, excited to team up with them in his movie, in Civil War and Homecoming and the Infinity War as well, and Endgame and all those films. But the Russos did a great job, Joe and Anthony Russo, the directors of Civil War and Endgame, and of course, Winter Soldier, did a great job of individualizing Peter enough and building the possibility of where they can take him next in this universe as his own Spider-Man, And then they gave the reins to... What is happening? I can't enter this door. They gave the reins to... Jesus, there we go. They gave the reins to John Watts, who is the director of Cop Car and Clown, pretty much super obscure and unknown films. And that's what they did for Spider-Man in his own movie, the first MCU Spider-Man movie we've ever had. And the tone completely flip-flopped from the film beforehand to this. So it was just very odd with how they kind of switched the narrative perspective for Peter Parker's character in some elements of the movies. Now, again, Homecoming's less at fault because they did a good job of, like, that was the whole arc. The whole point of that was that he's not Iron Man. He's not, like, Iron Boy Jr. He's Spider-Man. And then that's why at the end he makes the mature decision of, here's my Iron Spider suit, Peter. Why don't you take that and become an Avenger? He says, no, because I've learned that I'm not yet ready, but I can still be a hero on the ground level while still participating with the Avengers if you need me. But then they kind of flip-flopped again, where in Avengers Infinity War, they needed to bring Spider-Man back because of the threat they were facing with Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet and the stones and all that. And then they just instantly just give Peter the Iron Spider suit, like, now you're teaming up with us, and Doctor Strange and the Guardians and Iron Man in space, and it's totally fine. Like, so, like, how, like, it kind of, like, flip-flopped really fast. Now, it's hard to kind of juggle the narrative with that, because you have to make a build-up for the Avengers to face, and you have to bring in all the Avengers characters for that specific reason. I just found, like, it was a little bit jarring to go from the Russos' version of Spider-Man to John Watts' version of Spider-Man with Homecoming, and then the Russos directed Spider-Man again in Infinity War, but then they were directing the version that was built up from Homecoming into Infinity War, and then that followed again to Endgame, and then again with Far From Home, where John Watts took what the Russos did and the narrative that they told with Spider-Man in their movie with the Avengers, and then put him in again with his own standalone story. It's so weird. It's so weird.
Yeah.
It's very, very jarring to go from these big team-up movies to these solo standalone Tom Holland flicks. So now they're probably just saying, hell with it. Let's just do a giant team-up movie for Tom Holland's third installment. So we're, instead of the Avengers, because Iron Man's dead, a lot of them are retired or off-world or doing their own thing, let's bring in the older ones to team up with Tom, since Spider-Verse is so beloved, but also to bring back that nostalgia factor, and that's what I'm worried about. That's the long-winded answer for me, is that, of course, if you love Toby or Andrew or Tom, and they're all going to be in this one film, that's fantastic. But I want this story to focus primarily on Tom Holland's Spider-Man. How can he become Spider-Man in his own right, in his own movie, growing by himself? He can have help from, like, Doctor Strange or Iron Man, like what we've seen, but still keep it centered on Tom Holland. Same thing with, you know, Spider-Verse. Like, Spider-Verse dealt with all the Spider people of the multiverse, but at the core, it was a Miles Morales movie. It never deterred from that. It never, you know, lost sight of the story purpose of their inclusion, saying anyone can wear the mask. That was the whole point of Spider-Verse, is to hit that point home. Like, there's a pig as Spider-Man. There's a little Japanese girl, anime girl as Spider-Man. There's Gwen. There's Peter B. Parker, the older Peter. There's Peter Chad Parker, you know, Chris Pine Peter Parker, who's a beast, and he's blonde. He's fantastic. So anyone can wear the mask. That was the central point of the story, but Miles was the core character driving that point further, you know? So if they have this, Tom Holland's coming in his third movie, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, they just bring in the old Spider-Man. Cool, like, yeah, I love Tobey and I love Andrew. Cool to see them back on screen. But that's not really doing anything for me, because I want to see how Tom's films can grow. How does Tom, as Spider-Man, evolve and develop further in his narrative universe? And bringing in a multiverse thing, especially when they kind of did that and threw it away in Far From Home, we're like, oh my god, Mysterio's from the multiverse. When there wasn't one, you know, that wasn't really a thing, that was a lie, but now they can do Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and bring him in for what's going on with Tom Holland. So it's so weird. It's so much happening. I thought we've learned from this from Spider-Man 3 and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. When you put in too much stuff, it doesn't go well. And that was the same thing with Mark Webb. He was saying, yeah, you know, with The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and obviously there was massive studio interference there for that movie, but he's like, yeah, you know, we're going to include Shailene Woodley, if you guys remember, as Mary Jane. We're going to include Felicia Hardy, Felicity Jones as Felicia Hardy. We're going to include Gwen and Peter's romance. We're going to include Harry and Peter and Norman Osborn, set up the Sinister Six, and all this stuff. And did that work out? I don't think so.
Nope.
So it's very, very odd. And I'm very skeptical towards how this film will turn out. I do not know if it'll be like the best Spider-Man film of all time, because people obviously say Spider-Verse is the best Spider-Man film of all time, solely because of the inclusion of Miles Morales, but also that they were able to juggle so much into one story plot point, or story plot of the multiverse and Spider-Man connecting and everything that's happening, and yet still have a cohesive story about Miles Morales. So, and the fact is, that movie was shorter. You know, it was an animated movie, and it was shorter than what these main length feature films are. I believe Spider-Verse was like an hour and a half. Or was it 2 hours?
It was 2 hours.
It was 2 hours? Really? Okay, I thought it was shorter, actually.
I believe it was kind of like close to the 2 hour mark. Like an hour.
Right. I know for a fact, like, it's obviously not as long as, like, Avengers Endgame, which is like 3.5 hours or something. But it certainly had a shorter runtime than you would expect for, like, a standard 2.5 hour feature-length movie. And animated. So they had to juggle the animation with the story and the narrative they were telling, and all that. But with this being a feature-length Spider-Man film with Tom Holland and all these actors, you would think that now they have enough time to fully flesh out the story of this. But we've seen it. Spider-Man 3, even though it has some good points and good elements within it, it still felt rushed in certain areas with certain characters. Some story beats did not connect, and they didn't follow through with the main story that Sam Raimi wanted to tell at first, with Sandman as the main threat. If you guys know, that was the big thing. There was studio interference with Spider-Man 3 because Sam Raimi did not want Venom in it at all. He was going to probably save that for a Spider-Man 4 or even something else. But then Spider-Man 4 was rumored to be with Vulture and Mysterio, and Sam Raimi has said he's not even really that big of a fan of Venom as a character. So all that is prevalent towards the studio interference of Sony. And The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is literally just one big product placement for Sony as well. If you guys know, like, all the product placement they have in that movie for Sony products and all that. It's insane what that movie was doing. Yeah. And Andrew Garfield, of course, left because of that, but then Sony treated him poorly. So it's still, like, a whole thing. It's nuts. So I am very, like, perplexed right now. Like, this threw my whole day off. So I'm, like, seeing this online, I'm personally just looking forward to Persona 5 Little plug in there. Franco, I know, is excited about it. Persona 5 Strikers is announced to come out
Yeah, I was gonna
February
ask you about
23rd
that.
next year. That's a pro for me. Represent Atlas for sure. But with this, I was like, oh great. So Kate Bishop's in Avengers today. Finally, Persona 5 is getting its sequel on February 23rd.
And then Cyberpunk
awesome.
comes out
And like,
on
oh, what's
Thursday.
this? Yeah, like exactly. Like they do that. Like, oh great, you know, like it'll be a fun, nice day. Nothing to worry about. Spider-Verse confirmed pretty much. Like Spider-Man 3, here's everyone. Smash Ultimate style. They're all back. Like holy, like at this
Everyone
point, just
is
bring
here.
in Nicholas Hammond Spider-Man or Neil Patrick Harris Spider-Man, please, for the love of God. John Bubniak will pop up in live action. Who knows? That'd be insane. I don't even know.
No,
That's
it's
not a
Bum
scoop.
Jordan.
That's just a theory. But that's a game theory. Wink. But no, I have no clue. I am lost for words, but I've rambled on long enough. I am so sorry, and I'll read your guys' comments too. What you guys think about it. But
Don't worry,
Franco,
it's all good.
my main man, what do you think about all this? What were you, when you saw this? Were you like, oh, you know, you were already like aware that this was going to happen, or you were like just as like shocked as the majority of everyone else?
Okay, so when I saw Alfred Molina, oh, Alfred Molina's coming back. At first I was like, nah, that's probably fake. And then I see like all like the news outlets are like, oh, this is real. Oh, okay, I'm
Right.
excited. Okay, cool. I'm cool. I'm fine. Spider-Man 2, spoilers. You know, he dies. Like trying to like get rid of the reactor. I'm like, okay, so is he going to be playing his Spider-Man 2 self, or is he going to be an entirely new Doc Ock? Like, how is that going to work? And then when it came out, like saying, oh, we're going to have Kristen Dunst is returning, and you know Emma Stone is in the talks of coming back. About coming back as Gwen Stacy, and then another one saying, oh, Andrew Garfield signed on, and Tobey Maguire's like closing on the deal with Sony and Marvel. And I was like, okay, cool, awesome. But is it just going to be a Spider-Verse movie, or are they just going to like just not like have Tom Holland be like the main like focus of the movie itself, and just have like Tobey and Andrew as like for nostalgia purposes? But I'm still excited for the film. Don't get me wrong. I just
Right.
hope that, you know, this is, you know, Tom Holland's third Spider-Man movie, that, you know, like he gets like the center focus and like kind of be like the main part of the movie, and then you can have your Tobey, your Andrew, your Alfred Molina, Jamie Foxx, all that. Like, just make sure, you know, just give Peter a very compelling story for the third movie, and then you can have like your development with him and all the other characters that'll be in the film. So that's all I ask for. But overall, I'm very excited to see where this goes, and just hopefully, you know, like not too much studio meddling goes around, just like, because you know how every like Spider-Man like sequel is like cursed with having like a studio interference with like having too many characters, or like just having
Right.
creative differences. I just hope everything goes smoothly. Like, I just really hope it all goes smoothly, because I know for a fact if this goes well, this will definitely be probably the highest grossing Spider-Man movie ever made. So I'm very excited overall.
Because the whole reason, and you're totally right about that, because the whole reason why we even have Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the first place is because of Sony's studio interference with The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So it's like, well,
Yeah.
the lesser of two evils. So it's like, well, we got something good that people like out of something bad that really happened to another version that a lot of people also seem to like. So I don't know, like, it is very weird what this whole situation is. And the fact that they're trying to rectify it, it seems like, by bringing back all three of them. You know, like, oh, sorry that we didn't really do right by the other Spider-Man, so let's bring them all back in one movie. And it's like, well, this is supposed to be the ultimate Penn trilogy of Tom Holland Spider-Man films, and yet they're bringing in a completely different cast of Spider people from movies that are really, you know, old now, to wrap up his trilogy of films. Like, I'm very confused, especially where there's been no, I mean, I guess there has been with the quantum realm and all that. Like, I'm trying to say there's been no inclination of a multiverse occurring, but then there's like Doctor Strange talked about it, and Mysterio teased it even though he was lying, but then, you know, that backs it up with the Infinity Stones and different
like, we're probably
universes
gonna
in
have to wait
space
till
in general, but then the multiverse, the Infinity Gauntlet can probably do. I get it, but still, it's like, are we really gonna do this route for the third Spider-Man film? Like, I thought we were gonna get something like Kraven or I don't know, like
Lizard.
Alistair Smythe, like
know.
Spider Slayers, or I don't even know.
Wheel.
Well, like
Big Wheel.
Big Wheel is the main villain confirmed. Yes, Franco, you're absolutely right. We're getting that in the third film without a doubt. If we don't, we will riot. So this is our demand to Sony. Do whatever you want with the Spider People. Just make Big Wheel, which you've already DM'd me. Big Wheel, Mr. Aziz, and
my kangaroo.
one more. Yes, them is all the foes of Spider-Man 3, and they will be all set.
Oh man,
Fantastic.
Like I'm telling you, man.
So that's
like,
bring to fan service if they go that route, where it's like, I understand what they're doing. I get it, because they want to try and tie in with all these to like, wow, this is a fan dream come true. All the Spider-Men on screen at once. How exciting is that? Like, yes, I get it, but at the same time, like, you're not paying attention to your main Spider-Man. Like, you could do an animated film with that, and of course it paid out really well for them in the long run. But for live action, I thought we already had a clear indicator that Tom Holland is our end-all, be-all current live-action Spider-Man, with no hints to, like, yeah, we'll bring in the 3 other ones. At the end of Far From Home, it's like, oh my god, you know, his identity is out there for the public. What happens? Oh, we'll bring in Toby and Andrew. Like, what? So that's like, where did that come from? You know, like, you're jumping, like, a lot of hoops. Jumping through a lot of hoops to get to that story perspective. So I am very confused on that part, but I'm willing to give it a
and you
shot.
gotta be scared,
it's just that,
like, you know, if it's gonna stick the landing.
Yeah, and you don't know how this writing team and director are going to be handling characters like Toby's Spider-Man and Andrew's Spider-Man with the writers of this movie's franchise. Because if you guys don't know, the writers of MCU's Spider-Man 3 are the same writers who did Far From Home, which in my opinion is my least favorite Spider-Man movie of all time. And that does not excite me at all. In fact, that scares me a lot, especially because, you know, those Raimi fan purists out there who are like, Tobey Maguire's Raimi Spider-Man is the end-all, be-all of Spider-Man with the suit, the quips, the acting, and all. I get it. I love him too. For me, my definitive Spider-Man is this one from the game, Yuri Lowenthal / John Bubniak, and / Ben Jordan now too.
Ben Jordan.
Ben Jordan, of course. Respect the man. Obviously, it's just that I miss our main boy, John, which there's a lot of stuff going online with him on Twitter as well, if you guys have been seeing that. But we'll see if we can get some inside info from him relatively soon. Wink, wink. But for me, that's my favorite version of Spider-Man, is this version that Insomniac has made. So that's why, and I also report more on games than movies, which is why I'm more focused on, like, where the Marvel universe is going with the universe of Marvel games with Square Enix's stuff. Even though I'm not a fan of Avengers, they're going to be making a Guardians of the Galaxy game by Eidos Montreal. That was leaked, so that's going to be exciting once they reveal that. Maybe at the Game Awards. We don't know, but that'd be cool. Because that is rumored, you know, that's been leaked. Not actually a rumor. It's a leak that they're making their next Marvel game with their multi-year, multi-game partnership is going to be a Guardians of the Galaxy game, which would be cool. This, though, I'm, like, wondering how all this is going to work out with the MCU and Tom Holland. And it's like, will they be able to pull off all these characters? You know, Andrew's Spider-Man was directed and crafted by the writers for that film, as well as Mark Webb with the direction of where he wanted to take Peter and the story he wanted to tell with Andrew Garfield's take on the character. Same thing with Sam Raimi and the writers for the Raimi trilogy of films. That's their Spider-Man. You know, it's Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is that way on how Spider-Man acts and is portrayed is because of the writers and the director leading the direction of that character. It's not necessarily because of the actor, where even though Tobey does have a huge part of making that Spider-Man his own, but the script that's given for him, who wrote that version of Spider-Man, the qualities that he is known for, it's because of the writing and direction of Sam Raimi and the writers of the film, just as Mark Webb and Andrew Garfield and the writers for that movie and those movies helped build the Amazing Spider-Man versus Tobey's Spider-Man versus MCU Spider-Man. So if they get rid of that and they just put everything under John Watts' direction, the man who I believe understands Spider-Man the least out of every director that we've seen so far, I'm scared. I'm honestly scared to see how that's going to turn out, where he's going to handle so many iconic characters and properties and villains of Spider-Man's universe all at once to what I believe is just filling it out for fan service. I don't really see this as like, yeah, this was our plan all along to make MCU Spider-Man 3 a live-action Spider-Verse. We built this from the very start, you know, just like the MCU. It started with Iron Man and it ended with Endgame, and then it had an epilogue with Far From Home, and it's going to continue with Black Widow and Captain Marvel 2, and I don't know if they'll do Black Panther 2 anymore, sadly, or if they do, it probably is going to have some issues since Chadwick Boseman sadly passed away. Rest in peace, King. But I don't know. I'm very scared. Like, it's the same thing. Like, Brian Intihar and Brian Horton are the creative directors of Insomniac's Spider-Man universe. But Brian was there. It's so weird. Which Brian? That sucks. I hate trying to distinguish them both every time. Brian Horton was a producer on the first game, where Brian Intihar was the creative director of that game. But that's why you understand that whenever they make the official sequel to Marvel's Spider-Man, not Miles Morales, but Marvel's Spider-Man 2 with Peter Parker, Brian Intihar is still going to be the creative director of that game. Same thing with John Paquette and Ben Arfman and Mary Kenny and Christos Gage and a little bit of Dan Slott are the main writers that built this version of Peter Parker Spider-Man that we know and love so much. Brian Horton followed Brian Intihar's initial direction, but then expanded upon it with how can we grow Miles even further. But it was not like they got someone completely new out of nowhere to direct Miles Morales, or to make Miles Morales. It was still someone core within the main Insomniac team. You know, it was still part of that core foundation of who they built with their first Spider-Man game. And then they continued that further with Miles' path in his own thing. So what I'm saying is, it doesn't seem like Sam Raimi has any involvement in Spider-Man 3 with the MCU. It doesn't seem like Mark Webb has any involvement with Spider-Man 3 in the MCU. It seems like the writers who made Far From Home are just taking elements from the other Spider-Man films, Alfred Molina, Doc Ock, Jamie Foxx, Electro, Andrew Garfield, Peter Parker, Tobey Maguire, Peter Parker, Emma Stone, Gwen Stacy, Kirsten Dunst, MJ, bringing them all back, sprinkling them in you know, the third MCU film, and it just so happens to be a Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, where I don't believe that at all. I think it's just going to be a live-action Spider-Verse because they know that nostalgia sells. Those versions of the character, MCU, you know, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, are beloved by so many people that they know the fan reception for seeing them all on screen at once would sell like hotcakes, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So this, I don't know. I'm very, very skeptical to see how the direction will pan out for this version of Spider-Man 3 and how that pans out. But we will see. We will definitely see. Whether or not that will be for the best or not, I'm hesitant. But fan service will win, for sure. I mean, people loved it when J.K. Simmons returned as J. Jonah Jameson in Far From Home at the end of that movie post-credit scene. I am in the minority that did not, because again, that was just nostalgia bait. Like, oh, you love J. Jonah Jameson, right? The best, you know, one of the most definitive casting choices you've ever seen in a movie for J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. Sure, get him back and put him in the post-credit scene of Far From Home, making him the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire universe version of J. Jonah Jameson, as well as now the MCU's version of J. Jonah Jameson as well. So it's like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, it would not make any sense in that regard. Like, if they all of a sudden brought in Elizabeth Banks, she returns as Betty Brant, and she's the Betty Brant of this universe, even though we already had Betty Brant, who we saw in Far From Home and Homecoming, you know, the blonde actress who was with Ned, Genki, by the way. It's totally Genki, just, you know, side topic there. Ned Leeds is not Ned Leeds in the MCU. That is 110% Genki Lee from the comics. But Betty Brant is in the MCU already. But what I'm saying is, what if they all of a sudden brought in Elizabeth Banks, Betty Brant, put her in Spider-Man 3 in the MCU universe, when there's already a Betty Brant existing, you know? So it's like, well, you have Tom Holland's Peter Parker, his identity is exposed, there's so many stuff that you can, so many narrative beats to tackle now knowing that his identity's out there. Maybe I would be shocked, but have a Back in Black situation where Aunt May gets shot because his identity's exposed and they go after him and Aunt May, that would be insane. Please don't do a One More Day situation. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm saying take it somewhere not dark, but like more mature or where the stakes are high. You know, this is the first Spider-Man movie, Far From Home, and this could be the first Spider-Man movie if they wanted to, that his identity is publicly known. You know, it was not really revealed in any of the Tobey films, besides those people on the train, but then they kept that secret. Andrew Garfield's movie never really touched upon that. Just he's this masked vigilante, and that's kind of it. They never really found out who Spider-Man was. It was teased in both the Tobey films and the Andrew Garfield films that Aunt May is aware of the fact that Peter is Spider-Man, but not really touching upon that at all. We knew, or Aunt May knew, that Peter was Spider-Man by the end of Homecoming, and then it was shown in Far From Home in a super stupid way, where I put this on Twitter, I can do a whole TED Talk about why I despise Far From Home. One of the reasons being is that Aunt May specifically states, if you see trouble, you look the other way because of what happened with Uncle Ben, and of her worriedness for Peter to stay safe after what happened with that whole situation, because she cares about him a lot, and then she is very keen on making sure he's safe and telling her what's going on so that that tragedy doesn't happen again to someone that she cares about the most, who's almost like her son. It's her nephew, but really it's her son. And it's like, you know, after the Stark, I lost the Stark internship. That scene was really good. That scene was really good in Homecoming, where he's like, he saved, quote unquote, the ferry, even though Iron Man helped him out. He almost saved it, but he kind of had to get help from Iron Man because he kind of messed up with the whole situation with the FBI, since he called them to stop the Vulture and the crime gang that he was running. And then he came back to Queens with Aunt May, saying that, oh, I'm fine, I'm just hanging out, well, and then she's like, you know, cut the BS. I know you go out every night. I know you're sneaking out. I know you're lying to me. Just be real with me like that. Because she's aware. I'm getting really heated right now because I'm really going off like this whole thing. She loves Peter, and his safety is the most important thing to Aunt May, right? So when she's in Far From Home saying, don't forget to pack your suit, where's your Peter tingle? Hey, where's your suitcase that Uncle Ben gave you? Oh, it exploded? All right, like, what are you doing? What is happening? Like, those little moments, I'm sorry, but I can't stand how Aunt May is characterized and also sexualized heavily for some odd reason in Far From Home. And even slight bits of Homecoming. You know, Happy has the hots for her. Everyone in Homecoming's hitting on her. Like, what are we doing? Like, is that the trope now, that Aunt May is sexy? I'm sorry that she's not like a supermodel in the Tobey Maguire movies, or even, you know, the Insomniac universe. Played wonderfully by Nancy Lenari, by the way. That's like my most definitive version of Aunt May, is either her or Rosemary Harris as Aunt May. And it's not just because they're older. It's because the characterization of her is so good. Even Aunt May in this game, she's like, I know that you were Spider-Man, but I was so worried all the time. But I know I couldn't stop you because of how you're a hero. You're saving people. You know? And she accepts that fate, that Peter is aware enough, that he's mature enough in this universe to have the ability to stop crime and act as Spider-Man, knowing that he's able to do that, you know? But Peter in the MCU, totally different situation for a teenager. And to do all that, it's just like, what are you doing? In Civil War, he was said to have those powers for only 6 months, but then he got, in Homecoming, it was like a year later or something. Or it was after Civil War, actually, because he got back, right, from the airport battle, and he was driving home with Tony, and he's like, you know, stay on the ground, just be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, don't do anything I would do, don't do anything I wouldn't do, you know, that whole scene. That was after they got back from the fight in Civil War. So again, he is not as experienced as a Spider-Man for 8 years. You know, he's still youthful and in his prime, still learning to be a hero. And it's just like, what are we doing with Aunt May and her character? You know, like, what is happening to her characterization in the MCU? And her doing a complete 180, like, I don't want you going out risking yourself and being in danger because I don't want to experience what happened again with Uncle Ben. They've never really directly name-dropped him, but they've referenced him numerous times. I don't have a problem with them not showing Uncle Ben, which is the main argument that a lot of people seem to have. I don't care that they have not shown or directly name dropped, said the name Uncle Ben. They mentioned him in the past. You know, the whole, you know, when you have the thing, when you can do the things that I can and you don't, and then the bad things happen, they happen because of you. That's, again, directly referencing Uncle Ben. And then in Homecoming as well, they mention him with Ned saying like, oh my God, Peter, you're Spider-Man. I have to tell everyone because this is the coolest thing ever. And he's like, no, don't tell anyone that. I can't do that to May after everything she's been through. And then Ned acts like upset because obviously he's aware of Uncle Ben dying because of how traumatic of an experience that was for both of them. And then she's like all happy-go-lucky and far from home, like, yeah, use the Peter tingle. Peter, take your Spider-Man suit. Fight the robots. Fight with Mysterio. What are you talking about, ma'am? Like, I am so, like, I'm sorry, but that's just like, what are we doing? Like, what is happening with these movies? And the whoever the narrative was written for with the writers from Homecoming into Far From Home was so disjointed, and did not mesh at all, in my opinion, in the slightest. But that's just me. So what my point is, if they do that, again, where the narrative does not mesh with any of these spider people that people love, why can't I wall run up this wall? Okay, glitch, strange. The PS5 version of Miles Morales is obviously better than the PS4 version. PS4 version is still great, but whew, if there's not some bugs in here, there are definitely some bugs in here. Do not worry. Boy, but what I'm trying to say is, just because you have those Spider-Men in your movie doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be one-to-one accurate to the Spider-Man that we've already seen in the previous films. You know, like, as an example, like, I was going to do the face model thing, but I think we've already touched enough about that one. So let me use the new animated series. Let's do that. So Neil Patrick Harris,
okay,
Peter Parker, Spider-Man in that series of the show, new animated series Spider-Man. College freshman, right? He's been Spider-Man for like a year or so since his time in... Because it's, again, supposed to be a continuation from the Sam Raimi movie, the first one. It's in the same universe. So that's supposed to be Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, essentially. It's just that he looks nothing like Tobey Maguire, and he's voiced by Neil Patrick Harris, which, in my opinion, is a massive upgrade, if I do say so myself. But... he's mature, even though he's young. He's like, what, 18 years old, 18, 19 years old in that universe? He's still inexperienced, but he's experienced enough to handle things solo and have a mature sense of responsibility and the will to fight for others and stand up for what's right and know what's right from wrong because of what he's been through and what he has to experience further with the hardships of being Spider-Man, with Max Dillon, you know, the Lizard, Dr. Connors, what he's already been through with Harry, you know, that whole, such a good show. I can't even express how good the show is. With the relationship with Harry, they expand upon that throughout, like, the entirety of the show. Like, Harry's still mad at Spider-Man for, quote-unquote, killing his dad. And he rivals with that with Harry. Like, I'm not sure how to feel anymore about Spider-Man. Because he has that conflict. He has internal conflict both with Peter and Spider-Man. Same thing with Peter as himself, as Spider-Man and Peter. Like, there's the one episode where it's like the grouper, the fish, where Mary Jane shares a secret with Peter about her in the attic, or a closet, you know, hiding from her father and her parents from arguing, saying that she felt like she was lost at sea on a ship because she didn't have to feel like she was alone and in this bad living environment, which is so impactful. And then Peter's like so, you know, discreet with his secret because he doesn't want to put her in danger, saying, I'm allergic to grouper the fish, which is, first off, hilarious, but second shows, oh, MJ, I'm Spider-Man, like in Far From Home. That's what I'm trying to tie it back to. Like, yeah, MJ, you guessed I'm Spider-Man because I'm terrible at keeping my identity a secret, but yeah, I'm Spider-Man. Like, what are you doing, Peter? What are you doing? What are the writers doing, specifically? So Peter has that whole internal conflict, like, oh my god, you know, MJ, deep down, there's this big secret that I'm really, you know, wanting to tell you and share my life with, but I can't because I'm conflicted and I don't want to put you at risk. Except for the coolest, most awesome thing ever, and he has that moment where he's like upside down with the pigeons flying past him like this, and it's like so good. It's so good. I can't stress it enough. God, Please watch it if you haven't. Some guys haven't, which is crazy. Please watch the new animated series.
Yes,
it is. You will not regret it. It is fantastic.
Yes.
Franco knows. But like,
trust me, I know.
Same thing with like Spectacular Spider-Man. You know, the high school Spider-Man, he is still going through a lot of mature things in his life, even though he's in high school. And that's what the MCU should have done in live action. It's simple as that. Not to say directly make the MCU live action Spectacular Spider-Man, because you want it to be its own thing, but don't strive off of what the core assets of Peter Parker represent, especially with a character who's always balancing his dual identity life and struggling with mature decisions that he has to overcome in and out of the suit. And the fact that they kind of wash over that is my whole point. Like, oh, you're Spider-Man, but you're going to be Iron Man now, pretty much. Like, after Iron Man's dead, well, you'll fit in his shoes. Like, you can't be Spider-Man, but still you're making a suit with Iron Man's tech and using all of Iron Man's stuff with Happy Hogan at your side, who was Iron Man's sidekick pretty much, alongside War Machine. Like, you see what the conflict is? So it's like, I don't know. So, if the writing is not true to the character of Tobey's Spider-Man or Andrew's Spider-Man from how the MCU is portraying it, then it will not feel the same, in my opinion. And that's what I'm trying to say. So, I know, and again, not trying to hate anyone who does like the movies with the MCU and Far From Home and all that. That's fantastic. I'm just saying that if you give like a character's representation who is built from someone else to another person, then will it still be the same character? And in my argument, I say no. And that's all I'm trying to say. However, Sony would hopefully know that if they screwed this up, live-action Spider-Verse, with 3 main Spideys, all from live-action films, Tobey, Andrew, and Tom, all together in one movie, if they messed any one of them up, or gave more screen time to one versus the other, or if they give more screen time to Tom, for example, in his own movie, that's fine. But say they make Spider-Man 3 in the MCU a Tobey-centric movie, right? Like, even though I love Tobey, I would be pissed, because that's not his movie. He's already had his own trilogy. We've seen him as Spider-Man. We're good. I want to see Tom grow as his Spider-Man and see how he interacts with the other Spider-Man from his. That's like if Spider-Man 4 from Tobey Maguire, if they made Spider-Man 4 the Raimi movie that he wanted to make, and Andrew Garfield film, then that would make no sense. So that's what I'm saying. Don't make this new MCU Spider-Man movie a movie to a character that it does not relate to. Like Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse was not a Spider-Ham movie. It wasn't a Spider-Man noir movie. It was a Miles movie. But the reason why the Spider-Verse was there is because A, it works really well in animation, but B, is that the message of the movie was relevant to Miles' character growing as Spider-Man, and that anyone can be Spider-Man. That's the point. So that's why I'm conflicted and so active right now speaking. I'm so sorry, Franco. I haven't even given you a second to talk. I apologize.
Don't worry. No, don't worry.
I'm just going off here. It's just like, if they do disservice to any one of these characters, I guarantee you the fan bases of either one of them, the Raimi fans, the Mark Webb fans, the Holland fans, will go ballistic. That's like what I've been doing. That's what I've been saying. If I have gotten that point across, I'm a main fan of the Insomniac Spider-Man versus all the live-action ones combined. I love Tobey. I grew up with Tobey and his movies, but I resonate heavily more to this game's version of the character and Peter and how he's characterized, which is why I was so distraught, and still am, coming to terms with it, that they completely recast who we identified as Peter Parker from the first game. Now I'm slowly starting to accept it, and it's bothering me less now than it did at first. It still irritates the hell out of me, but it's still something that's like, well, we still have the same people directing and crafting the narrative for this universe's version of Spider-Man, with Brian Intihar and John Paquette and Ben Arfman writing the game and directing the story, and Yuri Lowenthal is still Peter Parker as well. So that's still the same. It's just that the way on how he's visually portrayed doesn't really connect with the story beat of him being a Spider-Man for 8 years, in his prime, graduated college. All that does not mesh well enough for me with Ben Jordan's model. But still, Yuri Lowenthal is at the core of this Peter. Najee Jeter is at the core of this Miles Morales. These are the characters that they've written and scripted into the world that Marvel and Insomniac have crafted, and that is still staying the same. It's just that the visual representation of it has slightly changed with one character out of the entire cast of other people. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you did the same thing, like, oh, Spider-Man 3 in the MCU is going to have Tom Holland, his character, keep in mind, as Peter Parker Spider-Man, is still going to be the head of his next movie. However, he's now been recast with, say, Asa Butterfield or someone, you know, like one of the people who was teased at to be Spider-Man during the whole casting thing with Civil War. It was either Asa Butterfield, what's his name? Dylan O'Brien, who I actually really like. I thought he would have been a great choice. Logan Lerman is another one. Like, if they got that, for example, oh, it's the same character, it's the same Tom Holland Spider-Man, but it's played by a completely different actor. But the character's the same. It's like, is it really? I don't think so. That's what I'm saying. So, if you recast or rewrite a character that's previously been established by someone completely different than that previous actor or writer, then it would feel completely different in comparison to what we previously have seen. That's what I'm trying to say. And hopefully I've expressed that opinion on a properly understandable level. But, you know, that it all depends on how it's executed with the story. I know Unorthodox Gamer, and I saw a couple of other you guys bring that up. Those are the good old days, the casting days. I remember specifically there was a really sick fan-made trailer with Logan Lerman as Peter Parker in the MCU. And it looks sick. I'm like, oh, this is the guy. He needs to be Peter Parker. I loved him as Percy Jackson. Yeah. I loved him as, Perks of Being a Wallflower as well. He's great. Like, and I was like, he should totally do it. Sure. But yeah, then they got Tom Holland, who's fine. You know, he's not my favorite, but he's fine with what he's been given.
Imagine if Logan was casted as Spider-Man, and like he would like have his like powers like from Percy Jackson, just to like bend water.
He carries over, exactly, dude. They carry over Percy's power set from the movies and just put him into a Spider-Man costume.
That would be like the best. That would be like the best Spider-Man ever on screen ever.
That would be beyond OP, but I'm honestly all for it if they did that. That would be insane.
No, there's nothing OP about that.
Like if they get like what Toby in his role from he was also Bobby Fischer, the chess player. If you guys have seen that movie, I forget what it's called, but he was in a movie playing as a famous chess player known as Bobby Fischer, and that was like that where the meme comes from. He's like, they took that from me, Carmine. They took it. It's today. It's promoted today. So that's where that meme comes from. Is that Bobby Fischer chess movie? So if they gave Toby the powers of chess and the intellect of Bobby Fischer, and he comes back as Peter Parker Spider-Man, that's the equivalent of that. That'd be fantastic. Or even a similar scenario where Andrew Garfield comes back in Spider-Man 3. He's Peter Parker, but yet he's also the co-founder of Facebook. So that would be insane. Pawn Sacrifice, that's right. Rafik Yegoyan is the movie. That's right. Pawn Sacrifice with Tobey Maguire. That's a good movie. And also he was in, you know, Great Gatsby, which is all right. I wasn't really that big of a fan of that movie personally, but it's pretty good. With Tobey in it, of course.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, you know what I'm saying, right? Like, you're totally right. Like, oh yeah, they bring in Logan Lerman with the Percy Jackson powers as Spider-Man. And that's all we got. Yes. That's fantastic.
And he can like use the pen trident, like he just summons it, just like throws it, and like just rides like he just rides on it with like using his web.
Right.
Yeah, but speaking like live action Spider-Verse, you know, this movie will not be good unless it has our boy Rick Riker, the Dragonfly.
Yes, dude! Oh my god! Yeah, okay.
Like, I'm sorry.
Nothing matters now. Franco's absolutely 110% correct. Oh my god.
You cannot have the Spider-Verse movie without Dragonfly.
Yes.
Like, come on. Like, what's the matter with you? If you do not get Dragonfly, Rick Riker himself, it is not a Spider-Verse movie. I'm sorry. Like,
get Rick Riker on the line right now. Drake Bell is obviously totally in a perfect spot. He's obviously not crazy or anything. If you guys have seen the recent news with Drake Bell, he's totally fine. He's not. But yeah, get Drake Bell back as Rick Riker Dragonfly in this universe.
Maybe
and put him
Hourglass
in
returns.
the Dragonfly suit where he can't breathe, the one with the mask, because that's the one that everyone loved the most, and they're like, "Nah, we won't do that for this."
Like maybe, hey, you never know, Hourglass can come back. You don't know. Maybe he did
This
die
is what
in
the
that
fans
explosion.
want.
Exactly, that's what the fans want. They want Dragonfly on screen again.
They want
since
him
we
back
didn't
right
get a superhero
here,
movie too.
right now. That's right. These are
sorry,
facts that
I'm
cannot
still
be disputed. These are indisputable facts from the main general public. This is what we need.
It is just
This
the
is
facts.
what we want.
It is
Oh,
just the
man.
facts.
Yeah, just the facts only. Whew, but that is, oh man, I'm so sorry, guys. That is my whole hot take on Spider-Man 3. Is it cool that they're coming back? Yes. Will they be done
Yes.
justice with the narrative? Probably not. In
I
my
hope
opinion,
so.
so far, if we know that the writers who made Far From Home are leading this project, I don't think so. I'm kind of scared. It could be great. Who knows? Right now, I'm skeptical. We shall wait and see. But I was not really having high expectations for Far From Home when that movie was being advertised and coming out, and I was right in the sense that I did not like the movie. I was already thinking that ahead of time, not to be like, oh, I'll hate this movie. I hate everything that's MCU Spider-Man. No, it's not that at all. I went in with an open mind in the sense that I've seen all the trailers and I wasn't impressed with what they showed, and I wasn't liking the narrative direction that they showed in the trailers based off what the movie was going to represent. I saw the full movie, and like I assumed, even though I went in with an open mind, I assumed beforehand I probably will not like this movie. And I was right in that assumption. For my personal opinion, I was not a fan of what they did with that film. So, in that regard, I think it's going to be important to see how they tackle Peters from all perspectives of Toby, Tom, and Andrew. Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, which is apparently going to be a different Doc Ock if we're led to be believing these rumors, is that Jamie Foxx, Electro, and Alfred Molina Doc Ock are back in the sense that those actors are back reprising the roles. But as for whether or not they're the same character, that is yet to be determined. But so far, it does not seem like it will be. It seems like they're going to be their own versions, just played by the same actor, you know? So it's like a Deadpool situation with Ryan Reynolds. He was Deadpool in X-Men Origins, but then he got back as Deadpool in his own movie, which did him way better. So that, again, is a perfect example. They didn't do Wade Wilson justice in the writing department for X-Men Origins Wolverine. They got a great actor. They have great potential with him, just like Tom Holland, but the writing and the portrayal did not do that character justice. So the same thing. If they don't do that same justice with Toby or Andrew's Spider-Man, that's going to be an uproar between the hardcore Raimi fans and Andrew Garfield fans. Because believe it or not, there are people who say Andrew Garfield's the best Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire's the best Spider-Man. Tom Holland's the best Spider-Man. So if they don't do justice by any of them and just try and pander to, oh, look, it's all Spider-Man everywhere, then that is going to be a problem. So what I was saying earlier is that hopefully Sony is aware of that and that they don't mess that up. If they do, then there's going to be a huge problem, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it. But yes, I've babbled on long enough. Do you guys have any questions about that, or any other MCU stuff I missed, or my thoughts on the movies? Because this is like the main chance you guys can ask me, because I barely talk about it in the videos. I do, since I mainly talk about the Spider-Man games and the Marvel games, since that's what I'm interested in the most. I will not be upset if this movie is bad, because I'm more excited for the sequel of Marvel Spider-Man than I am for Spider-Man 3 in the MCU, which is probably like, what, 2 years off from now? Regardless, I'm still way more excited for the story potential here for this game's universe compared to whatever the MCU is doing. For me, the MCU died after Endgame. Even Far From Home was like, nope, not a fan of this. Black Widow looks cool. I'm sure Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings and Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, and WandaVision will be cool, but for me, that's not really something that I'm all that looking forward to.
Like, the only thing post-Endgame I'm excited for is the Hawkeye Disney Plus series. That's it.
Right, with Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop.
And maybe actually Doctor Strange, but that's about it.
Right. It's true. Very true.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, I have a question for you.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if you can like talk about it at all, since maybe you signed a non-disclosure agreement. But do Do you know if we're getting a superhero movie 2 with Drake Bell returning?
No way! Spider-Man 3 is just Super Movie 2 in disguise? Bro, we're ready.
Like,
my favorite line, sidebar, I don't know why, but every time I hear this line, I crack up for like 10 minutes straight, is where I love how Rick Riker's origin is a hybrid of Batman's and Spider-Man's. So his parents died in an alleyway, and then he got bit by a radioactive dragonfly, or a genetically enhanced dragonfly. Parents get shot by Rick himself with the gun. He's like, Rick, I'm dying. Dad, no. Rick, you're our last legacy now. You know, like, you're the one to carry on the Riker name. And he gives him this ring. And he's like, sell all stock of a site called Google. It's worthless.
Google.
Heavily invested. Enron. He's like, he looks around like confused for a second. I love that line. It's just so out of place and stupid. Like, what are they gonna do with the Riker fortune? He just sells it all to Enron and not Google. Like, yeah. That's the best thing in that entire movie.
No, but my favorite. No, that's my second favorite line. My first one will be. It's a classic. We're gonna get fame, money. Don't forget the, I'm not going to say it because don't want to get you demonetized.
Yeah.
There's not going to be fame, and there's not going to be any,
Yes. God, Kevin Hart and Leslie Nielsen are gems in that movie.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God. Like, there's not going to be fame, and there's not going to be, what's it? Like, oh my God, I love it. So good. That, and it's like Kevin Hart is literally every Gen Z tween nowadays. Yeah. It's like so good.
Another one where
he's like, oh my God, like, Rick and I, you're a team. And like, there's the nerds, the goths, the Scarface Society, the sexual predators, and the Rick Punchers. Like, who are they? Oh, they're new. And he just punch. Am I in? Yeah, no. And he's just like, oh my God. That and where he's like, aren't you going to help him? Where he's getting humped by all the animals in the science lab. As soon as I get this up on YouTube, he's like, man. World star. He's going in, recording that. Oh, my God. Yeah. So good. I'm crying just thinking about that movie. God, I'm so mad. Like, Franco, that is a genuine disgrace that there has not been a sequel to superhero movie yet.
I know.
When there's so many superhero movies now that they could rip on. It makes no sense.
Yeah. Like, come on. But, like, honestly, like, another one of my favorite scenes is, like, when they're at Anne Lucina's funeral, and, like, where he's like, how could you take her from me? And it's like, there's been a mistake. This is your wife, and this is that man's wife. Give me 5 minutes.
Give me 5 minutes. Oh, my God. I love that. I love specifically Drake Bell's facial expressions when those scenes happen. He's like, he has such an expressive face with all that. He's like, he does a great job. Like, the slight little, like, confusing looks he has is, gold.
Oh.
So good. I know. Like, if they don't bring back Rick Riker in Spider-Man 3, that is a disgrace.
I'm walking out of the theater.
Not my Peter.
Like, I'm walking out of the theater if I don't see him show up.
Not my Dragonfly.
Not my Rick Riker. Not my Dragonfly.
We stand a king. We stand a king.
Hashtag not my Dragonfly.
Not my Dragonfly. Oh, man. It's so true. But yeah, guys, if you have any questions about Spider-Man 3 or anything like that, let me know. Sorry, I barely stream. I'm terrible with looking at chat, so if I miss any questions from you guys, I apologize. Darian Rodriguez, this game has Black Lives Matter and LGBTQ representation. Yes, it does. Yes, it does, and it's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Again, I did this, or I mentioned it in my review, but also Brian Horton brought up in an interview and stuff, that Miles' main suit in this game, the red and black one, the triangular shape of the symbol of the Spider-Man chest design is primarily inspired by the Puerto Rican flag. That is the smartest conceptual idea that's ever been incorporated into any Spider-Man suit, besides the white spider in the advanced suit and probably the Amazing Spider-Man 1 suit for being modernized and realistic. But no, that with like design elements and stuff like that, with heritage being incorporated for Miles' character into his Spider-Man costume, it's fantastic. Jupiter, Evan, I have a question. How would you like to see Tobey have a proper send-off? See, thing is, I have no problem with Spider-Man 3's ending. because it makes narrative sense. He has growth, and he learns that through the ways of the black suit, he did wrong by Mary Jane, and that they reconcile at the end with that wonderful dance. I loved it, actually, that they didn't end with a final swing, and that they ended in each other's arms. That was beautiful, because it shows that no matter what happens, they can overcome it together, as long as they still have love in each other and forgiveness in their hearts. That message is really empowering when you stop and think about it for a second. I loved it. So I think that what I've been saying, I am fine with how Tobey's trilogy ended. Who I would like to have a proper send-off is Andrew Garfield. I think Andrew was done dirty as hell by Sony, and The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was not at all a good way to end his series of Spider-Man films. They got to continue that more with his own Amazing Spider-Man 3. I would much rather have an Amazing Spider-Man 3 than a Spider-Man 4. I probably will get shat on for that, but that's the truth. Like, I need to see a proper conclusion for Andrew's character compared to Tobey. I think that guy just died, by the way. I threw him into the turbine. Holy smokes. Is he actually dead? What happened?
I don't know.
If you guys saw, I threw that guy down on the bridge. Oh, he's dead. Okay, wow. So Miles is a murderer. Fantastic.
Peter, you're going to have to arrest Miles. Take him down.
Yes. Peter's going to have to fight Miles in the sequel. Then, with the black suit on. Oh, man. I can't wait. Honestly, that's the big theory going on right now, by the way, is, in case you guys don't know, is that the theory is, which we've speculated in previous, videos and stuff before, that if they, have Peter wear the black suit from Harry in this game's universe, there's either going to be a boss fight where you're controlling Peter to fight Miles in the black suit, where Peter's wearing the black suit, or B, you're controlling Miles and fighting Peter while he's wearing the black suit. And I think that is definitely going to happen, one way or another. I think it's just inevitable at this point. But how they go about it, how that ends up happening, like, you've never, well, that's not true. I was going to say there's never been a Spider-Man game where you fought another Spider-Man when clearly Edge of Time exists, aka, in my opinion, the worst Spider-Man game ever made. I can't stand it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I know some of you guys like it. I know it has its fans. I'm so sorry. I despise Edge of Time. These are hot takes coming from me, so you can give me L's if you want. This is pure honesty. Despise Far From Home, worst Spider-Man movie of all time. Despise Edge of Time, the worst Spider-Man game ever created. That's me. I'm sorry. And same thing, I don't think that Spider-Man 2 is the best movie of Spider-Man movies either. I think that's Spider-Man 1, the first one. Because not only do I prefer Green Goblin as a villain compared to Dr. Octopus, who's great, they're both fantastic. I just think Willem Dafoe does such a good job as Norman. So many iconic moments in that movie that shaped up what other superhero movies followed afterwards. And best Spider-Man game is obviously Spider-Man PS4. For me, it's obviously a close tie between that and Spider-Man 2 and Web of Shadows in my eyes, but Spider-Man PS4 tops. I know Miles has now been some people's favorites, but still, it's me.
Yeah, it's my
Spider-Man
favorite
PS4, not Marvel Spider-Man Remastered or Marvel Spider-Man, but specifically Spider-Man PS4 with John Bubniak's acting and, that character model. Peter with the game and the graphics and the gameplay and all that, it's top tier. But again, I haven't played the remaster yet, so I will just wait and see how I feel about it once I get my hands on. But for you, Franco, which we didn't talk about this last time, and I talked over you, and I'm sorry, but you played the remaster, top to bottom, from the ground up, and then played Miles Morales on PS5, which probably made the transition to Ben less jarring than, say, playing what I've done, is I played Spider-Man PS4 with John Bubniak and then transferred over to Ben Jordan with Miles Morales, seeing him in that scene with Peter and Miles talking, and then the remaster is back. But for you, in the facial expression department with acting, because you've said that the remaster is your definitive version of the Marvel Spider-Man game, whether that's Spider-Man PS4 or the remaster, you say the remaster is your personal definitive choice for the game. So for you as a fan, how do you feel Ben Jordan is suited into the visual portrayal of Peter Parker? Because obviously we know that Yuri, for you viewers, I'm sure Yuri is Peter, top to bottom. That's his performance, that's his acting that we're seeing in the character of Peter with those moments. But it's sadly not visually representing Yuri in the game. We're seeing the model of Peter, which just so happened to be John, and now in this case, Ben. So for you, Franco, how did you feel for the first time when you played the remaster and you saw those scenes with Ben during like the most emotional moments of the game?
Okay, so emotional moments. So
for those of us PS4 peasants who don't know and haven't played the game yet.
No, not you. You guys are not PS4 peasants. Don't worry. Don't worry. You'll get your PS5 soon. I promise you. But anyways, yeah. So when it comes to the emotional scenes, we'll start with the final battle. I think when it comes to the scene where Peter has just defeated Doc Ock and they have like that emotional like conversation, I think, in my opinion, I think John Bubniak still does a much better job showing the emotion. However, I think Ben has like the more kind of like better like kind of like facial structure, kind of like the way like he like portrays like the emotion he's going through. But John's face truly does have better like showing the emotion. And then when it comes to Aunt May's death scene, I think Ben Jordan does a much better job of showing the emotion than John does, because when the part where you see like Peter like struggling to like give Aunt May the anti-serum, and then when he refuses and he does like the big step back and like big like the sigh of like he can't do it, like you can see in Ben Jordan's eyes, like you can see like the tears starting to like show in his eyes, and I thought that was really well done. So that's why I'm giving a point to him on the Aunt May death scene, but he still doesn't beat the Doc Ock scene. I still think John does a better job there.
Right. Now, for you, I guess from a more technical standpoint, and that's cool. Like, yeah, like it's great because to their benefit, to Ben Jordan's benefit, Insomniac had to redo all those scenes that were originally crafted for John and then incorporate Ben in it instead, which is why he looks good in some scenes and some others he doesn't. Like, for me, those two scenes, like, granted, he's tearing up, like we see actual tears in his eyes during the Aunt May scene, but the expressions that he gives during Doc Ock's moment and certain parts when he's talking to Aunt May just doesn't feel as emotionally invested as how it was originally with John, because sadly that's who we first played the game as with John's version. But also, to their benefit again, is that this was a remaster of an old game that had John primarily tailored as Peter first and foremost, which is why Ben looks a little bit better in Miles, since that's who they mainly did it for from the ground up with Peter.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm at least confident enough. I'm still concerned, but at least I have more confidence in the future once it's a fully next-gen PlayStation 5 exclusive only game with the sequel only with Ben as Peter, not John, but sticking with Ben, and hopefully giving him more detail, maybe aging him up a bit, maybe looking a bit more mature in some elements of his characterization of Peter. For the sequel down the line, probably like, what, 2-3 years from now? But
I want to say 2022
now,
is
I will
probably
say
when
there
we'll
are
get
some
it.
scenes to their benefit, again, that I do like with Ben actually over John in terms of visual aesthetic for the graphic capabilities. Not in the sense that he looks older, but the detailing and the facial expressions. What they're saying, like, oh, the reason why they changed it is to give Yuri's performance more life. I'm like, well, it didn't really work in the Doc Ock scene for me or Aunt May's scene, but there were specific moments that I did like where he's talking to Martin Lee, where he discovers his secret lair in the feast shelter. He's like, oh, hey, Peter, did you find what you're looking for? And he looks, staring at him menacingly, Patrick Star style. He's just standing there menacingly like that. So that's exactly what Martin Lee was doing with Peter. And seeing that is really good. Like, you see more, facial depth with the eyebrows. They're saying the hair, and he's like squinting at Martin Lee, kind of like, he's kind of sus on him, like, but the bombers are still out there. Who knows what they plan next? And then Martin Lee's like, oh, I don't think you have anything to worry about. That is, unless you stick your nose in places you're not supposed to be. So he's like warning him. Peter's obviously sus on him, super hardcore. He's like, I don't trust him. Vote him out. Vote black and white out ASAP. He's the imposter. And he's staring at him, cold as day, like he's super, like, obvious, like, you did this. Like, you're the reason why I almost got killed during that bombing. But then the other scenes, to flip-flop on it again, the scene where the most important one, in my opinion, seeing Doc Ock shift from Otto to Dr. Octopus, where they make the tentacles finally. He's like, we've done enough testing. That scene. I saw it on YouTube. Now, granted, it's probably different seeing it on a laptop screen versus here on like a TV screen. But the scene when that happens, and he's like, don't worry, we're close. And he's like, you're sure you're okay? He's like, yes. Like, go on, Peter. I'm fine. I'm not going to turn evil or anything. And like, he's like, thank you, Peter, for everything. The subtleness of John's model in that scene is that John was like looking at him, concerned, but like a little bit reassured, like, okay, like that was kind of scary, but like I'm still worried, but like at least you're all right, I think. But like, yeah, that was interesting, Doc. I just hope that you're doing all right. The Ben Jordan one, he's like smiling all the time. He's like impressed by the tentacles. He's like, wow, Otto, that's really scary. You almost tried to kill me, but I'm fine. I'll walk out of here. Like, what do you do? Like, like some of the scenes work for me, others don't, and that's the problem. If it was fine through and through, and he actually looked his age, I'd be fine with it. But for you, Franco, to go back to you and your perspective, since I keep rambling on about nonsense, do you think for Ben's model in the remaster, not specifically Miles, but for the remaster itself, do you think that fits the profile of this Peter Parker, where he's 8 years as Spider-Man, he's been in, he's 23 years old, he just graduated college, and he's in his prime after being this hero for 8 years, mature and all that with what he's going through. In certain scenes when he's talking like MJ and Norman and Otto, like, do you think that reflects the character that they've crafted for this universe of Peter Parker, this universe's version, or do you think it like could have been a bit better?
Well, the first time I saw like the opening cutscene, I was like, I don't know, man. It doesn't really look like he's been Spider-Man for 8 years. It kind of looks like he's been Spider-Man for like 4 years, 3 years. So I was a little bit worried. And then, as it went on, I started to get much better and better in the scenes. So I think, yeah, it takes at first, when you first start the remaster, you're not used to it, but as it goes on, it really starts to grow on you, and I think it really does fit the profile much better than John's face.
Right. And that's good.
Because I felt some of the beginning scenes, it just didn't look right. The way the expressions and the way the face would move sometimes, it just didn't feel right as a Peter. But then kind of later on when it's a little bit more developed, I think it improves on it much better than how it is in the beginning of the game.
Right. And I know that there's been art station posts from the artists and stuff at Insomniac where they showed up close character model shots of the head sculpts of the models in the game, and they showed this one shot of Ben Jordan up close, and the shot where he looked in that one character model, I don't know if you've seen it, Franco, but it was a head sculpt of Ben up close, directly looking at the camera, face sculpt. That looked more like Ben Jordan than the model that we saw in the first reveal cutscene with the Han Tolland lookalike, where he's talking to Otto in the lab, where that was the first reveal of Ben Jordan as Peter Parker, and that was the scene that they decided to show is one of the most important scenes of the whole game, where he's talking to Otto and the tentacles are there, and that looked like totally a discount Tom Holland. But then the model that they showed in the screenshot I'm talking about, and then the scene at the end of the game where he's talking to Miles, where he's Spider-Man, Peter, I got something going on, physically. And he's like, and then he kind of does the whole puberty talk thing. That scene, they showed a screenshot of it in 4K, HDR, on the ArtStation post, and it looked really good. Much older, actually, than what they originally showed for Ben in the remaster for the first, initial trailer. So I'm, again, to their benefit, I have not played the remaster for myself, so I need to see the entirety of the scenes in action while playing it to get a better perspective on it. But again, some scenes it looks good, others it does not. I still prefer John, but I do understand why they went with Ben, given the reasoning that they gave to enhance Yuri's performance, I guess. But I think if they had just enhanced John more, everyone would have been happy. But I think for what it is, I am understanding of the situation, and am curious to see how they will improve that going forward in the sequel. That's all I can do and hope and say in regards to this. But what my point is that, you know, Franco, for you guys who don't have a PS5, has both Miles Morales and the remaster on PS5. He's played them both for himself, so getting his perspective on that situation is very cool to learn about from his perspective. So for you, Franco, do you have an element of the remaster that you prefer heavily versus the original game? Like, is it Ben's model? Is it the graphic enhancements? Like, would you like say like, oh, do I really need to buy the remaster? You know, like from that perspective, like I've played the first game on PS4, it's fine. Do I really need to buy a PS5 just to play the remaster and Miles? Like, is it worth getting? Would you say?
Yeah, I would say it's worth it. Like, you can really, like, once you see it in person, especially with the fidelity mode, because you got to keep in mind, if you're playing on performance mode, like, the character models and the environments are going to take a little bit of hit in terms of the graphics of it, but if you're playing fidelity mode, it's a whole different story. So you got to keep that in mind. Whenever you see cutscenes on YouTube of the remaster, you got to keep in mind if it's in performance or fidelity. If it's in performance, yeah, it's going to look a little bit weird, but if you look in fidelity mode, it's going to look like it's a huge night-and-day difference. But going back to your question, the one thing I think that really stands out for this remaster, I'm going to have to say the improved like graphics, lighting, ray tracing, all that. Like, it's a big difference, like night and day, between going from seeing the game on a PS4, PS4 Pro to the PlayStation 5 on the remaster. It is a huge difference. Like, it may not look like it, but once you see it in person, like, it really is a big difference.
Nice. Like, because I know, like, there's been shots that you've also shared yourself of, like, the Amazing Spider-Man suit with ray traced enabled, and it looks like lifelike in some photo mode shots. Like, it's crazy to see how detailed that suit can be, or all the suits in general, just with the enhancements of the graphical fidelity and, you know, capabilities of the PS5 incorporated into a character like Spider-Man, you know? Like, that's just crazy to see. And that's what I would get it for, is like the enhancements and also the DualSense and stuff and how that works. But it's great to see that you, as a user now of the PS5, you got your money, like, you would say you got your money's worth, right? From a consumer's perspective, like, oh, they, you know, delivered on a next-gen performance, the graphical enhancements, the capabilities of the PS5, this is what next-gen can offer, and then how that can be enhanced even more once we receive, like, the sequel. That'd be insanely great. Because I think it's safe to say that the sequel is only going to be on PS5, and that's where the core consumer base is going to start really appearing once they get those only PS5 exclusive games. Not just Spider-Man, but, like, God of War, Ragnarok, and
Horizon
whatever, the Suicide Squad game, for example, like all those games only on PS5 or only on next gen is where it's going to start to really impact users.
Yeah, no, it'll be worth it once you're able to get your hands on the PS5 with the Ultimate Edition of the game. It'll absolutely be worth it.
Nice. Cool. I know, I'm like, what? I am looking forward to that if I can able to acquire a PS5, and I'll surely do videos on it whenever I'm able to, even though that probably will be, like, next year. Persona 5 Strikers, my boy, Akira, coming back. Kasumi's gone. Sadness, but Akira's still back. And, Scott Pilgrim, as well, is also announced to be coming, you know, early January 2021 on PS4 and PS5. We can play it backwards compatible via PS5, but it's getting like a re-enhanced, remaster / complete edition relaunch January of 2021, which is hype. So I'm pumped.
Yes, I'm super excited because I've seen so many people talk about how good that game is. I have never played it, so I will definitely.
It's so
try
good.
it out.
It's like, I'm trying to think of a good comparison. Have you played Castle Crashers?
Yes, I have.
It's like that, but more like classic arcade style-esque.
Okay.
And just the characters of the game are, like, fantastic. Even though there's no dialogue spoken, it's just like, you know, 8-bit text. It's still great. Or I guess if you want to be specific, I guess it's like 16-bit or something, but still good. Let's see. Fan questions. Joshua Elias, why do people think Tom Holland's Spider-Man movies are comic accurate when they're all legitimately not? Let's start some drama, lol. Hopefully not start drama, but I do understand what you're talking about. Like, the thing is, in the comics, he's never been an Avengers fanboy, like, to the extent of Kamala Khan in the, like, Avengers game or the comics. He's always been kind of on equal terms with them or just kind of distanced from them. You know? He's always been, like, on their side, helping out, and he's like, I will team up with you, but not, like, in the sense of, you guys are the absolute best. If anything, he's kind of like Bruce Banner in a way from the first Avengers movie, like, we're a time bomb. You know, he's kind of, like, reluctant to join, but eventually does. So, it's very strange to see that perspective from the MCU, and how that's incorporated into Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So, I don't know. They can do certain liberties with the character that can enhance his profile as Spider-Man, but wow, those barrels just totally flew in that guy's face and he did not see anything. But, yeah, sometimes it doesn't mesh well with how Tom is portrayed. Again, I think the best portrayal of Tom Holland's Spider-Man that we have seen from the movies is in Civil War, which wasn't even his own movie. That was a Captain America movie. And it's very, very strange how that's the case.
However, there is something I do want to say about Civil War while we're on that topic. If they
please, go for it. I'm sorry I keep talking over.
Yeah. No, don't worry. You're all good. No, I just wanted to say, if they had kept, like, Spider-Man, like, appearing in the MCU, like, as a secret without the second trailer that they showed off for Civil War, like, the amount of, like hype generated, like, in theaters while watching, like, would be, like, incredible. Like, probably, like, on the same level as, like, Endgame, like, during the portal scene when, like, you see, like, all, like the Avengers and, like, all, like, the forces coming through the portals and, like people just cheering. Like, that, if Spider-Man's, like, first appearance, like, was kept a secret, like, that would have been...
It would be nuts. Like, that would be... Like, again, like, if they do that in, like, Spider-Man 3, Tobey's back, Andrew's back, Tom's there, get them all together in a team-up shot, taking down whoever the villain is. Because I have no clue who the villain is. Do you? Like, I
don't
genuinely
think so.
have no clue. Is it Craven or is it, like, Moreland or something? I don't know. So it's like, yeah, if they do that, for example, with here is everyone you ever wanted on screen, that's a huge fan service moment. But again, will it build up to the relevance and the narrative portrayal of what's going on in the story? I don't know. Like, they're doing it just to do it. Like, okay, well then, I'm not... Like, again, like, I'm beating up all these criminals in Miles Morales and in Spider-Man PS4. But if there's not a particular reason for why I'm doing it, then I won't really care. But luckily there is. He has to help out the people of Harlem. Or in Peter's case, he has to help out New York City from Devil's Breath and all what's going on. So if there's not a good reason, like, oh my god, we're here together and save the day and stop this thing... Oh, okay, like, there's no real, like, okay, well, then they clearly just did it to do it. Like, same thing, like, J.K. Simmons, J. Jonah Jameson, yes, he announces that he's the one that, delves the scoop. Oh, Peter Parker is Spider-Man, but they didn't have to get J.K. Simmons for that specific thing. They could have just got whoever, a random news reporter or something to report on that, but they just wanted to connect it to Spider-Man, so they got Daily Bugle, and they made it J.K. Simmons because he's, like, the main guy when you think of J. Jonah Jameson. So it's like, well, we got him just to fill in that role of fan service. And that's how I see it. So if they do that again for these characters, then I don't really know how I'll feel about that. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Like, do you think we'll probably get, like, some kind of, like, teaser trailer or announcement, like, saying, like, in December saying, keep your eye out for maybe, like, some kind of event where we'll drop the first teaser of the movie?
Yeah, I think it's been confirmed by someone, maybe like official source or a guy who knows this guy's cousin, who knows this other guy, like that. Somewhere, someone confirmed that we will most likely receive some sort of official confirmation of something relating to Spider-Man 3 this December. Whether that's a teaser trailer or a poster or the title, I don't know. It could be something really small or really big, but I think we will receive something official before the end of the year, this month. And it's already the 8th, so we're getting pretty close, so it's crazy. But I definitely think that there's a lot of potential for what they could show if they do decide to show something. Because keep in mind, recently was confirmed, if you guys saw this news, that Warner Bros. And HBO Max are going to release all their lineup of films on their streaming service. It could be in theaters, but also on their streaming service. Because of COVID and stay at home and quarantine. Because I live in California, let me tell you, I am not going to a movie theater anytime soon. Let me tell you what, holy sheesh. Oh my God, it is bad in California because people are so stupid. They are not staying at home, they're not wearing masks, they're doing whatever the hell they want, and they are ruining it for everyone. There's going to be a stay-at-home curfew enabled in the next few days or so. If it's probably already enacted, actually. So it's happening now in California. It's bad. And there's no way in hell I'm personally going to a movie theater at all. Probably in the next year or so, to be honest. Because not to be, depressing or sad, but I honestly don't see COVID going away anytime soon. If people are still acting this dumb, it's not going away anytime soon at all. So for someone like me, who does not want to be exposed and would rather be seeing it in the safety of their own home, then hell yeah, give me an option to see it at home that I could easily do and not have it ruin the experience for everyone else who is going to a theater or is endangering others by the virus spreading, but you can stay at home safe. So for Spider-Man 3, what I'm trying to say is that if they do that again for the film, Spider-Man 3, even though it's most likely not going to make them as much money, it would still be a great move on their part to, enact safety precautions for people.
So we'll see what happens. We'll see.
Yes. But Franco, I don't know if you want to divulge exactly where you are living for the chat, but where you are, because I know where you live, it's not as bad over there for you, is it? Or is it still
I'm from Toronto, Canada, and so far, it's been okay, but some areas near me are kind of in a certain lockdown, so only essentials are open. And they're encouraging people, if you go out, always wear masks, try to social distance, all that stuff, just be safe. But I know the cases are rising a little bit for me, but I'm trying my best, staying safe, wearing a mask, all that stuff. But yeah, I'm just very worried about the future. I just hope everything goes back to the way it was, but I don't see that happening anytime soon.
I know. If we haven't made it clear before, the Spidey Squad all over the world heavily endorses wear a mask, stay safe, social distance, 6 feet apart, be greater by wearing a mask. That's what we try and promote.
Try to be safe.
It is not good for me, at least. In California, it's oh my god. You thought New York was bad, how they were saying that they were handling it there with the rates of exposure they were sadly receiving. California, it is hell on earth, which is super dumb for someone like me who lives here. I'm why is everyone being so moronic? Why? It's not hard. Just stay at home or wear a mask or do both, please. It's not that difficult. So yeah, the vaccine or whatever that happens. This isn't getting political, but just on a side topic, just if they do that and no, I don't want to take that dumb thing. You better
you don't know what it can do.
Believe you are if you're exposed or something, because holy smokes, I'm not going to suffer for their stupidity. So it's insane around the world what's happening right now. Hopefully you're all staying safe as well. But yeah, for California, it's a lost cause at this point. So whenever they happen to release these movies or games or whatever, and how that's also affecting work from home situations for some of these developers, specifically Crystal Dynamics, who's also in California, really close, by the way. If you guys don't know, Crystal Dynamics, who makes Marvel's Avengers, they are located in Redwood City, close to San Francisco, which I live in. And that is very, very convenient for me, but it sucks because they're gone and they're not in the office anymore because of COVID, so they can't really get as much work done as they used to. Same with all developers, but still, it's for them specifically,
they don't have all the resources
they are. That's just
that they would normally have.
Crazy to think about. Yeah, exactly, right? It's nuts. But yes. Elijah Lamar. New York has dead bodies stacked on bodies. It was that bad. Yes, absolutely. It's also here, too. I think they said 1 million cases have been, indicated For the States, in general, probably more.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's.
I can't imagine the.
Yeah, but Elijah is definitely correct. It's bad there, sadly, but it's bad everywhere. But it's just crazy for.
It's really bad.
Yeah, a lot of people. Really unfortunate. But hopefully, if we're all positive enough, we're here for each other, not physically, but emotionally, then hopefully things will get better. That's all we can do and hope for.
Yeah, as long as we like work together, you know, do our part, stay safe, wear a mask, social distance, we can do anything.
Yes. The power of Spidey holds no boundaries. It is unbeatable to the max. Joshua Gerard Mercado. Most of my relatives live in California. Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, hopefully they're okay.
No.
Hopefully they're staying safe, wearing a mask.
Yeah, I hope they're...
We're here for them, and you too, dude. Hopefully you're staying safe as well. Captain Harry, Kate Bishop is a decent filler for no Finn in Avengers. I'm assuming you mean for no cost, but you spelled Finn like Finn in this game, so I'm not sure what you mean. But I hope so. I mean, yeah, I haven't played the Avengers in months now. Even with Kate Bishop's recent edition, I need to get back into playing it to see how it acts. But yeah, like once they start adding more characters to it, hopefully it can grow. But you can't deny that the game itself is a massive financial failure. It didn't for okay. Keep this in mind, right?
Oh no,
you're dealing with a property of no, seriously, you're dealing with a property of Avengers, right? Billion-dollar property that should be able to sell like that. You don't even need to promote the game. It's Avengers, right? And that sadly was the mindset that Square Enix had going into the game. Oh, it's Avengers, so it will sell regardless. When in reality, the fact that it's Avengers, but that you made an Avengers game like a live service game similar to Destiny and Anthem, with really bad gameplay mechanics and not really anything to differentiate it from either of those games, it flopped hard and also got really bad word of mouth from the majority of consumers and reviewers. Where we talked about this the last stream, like reviews from the main companies like IGN and GameSpot with their exaggerated swag are obviously very important, for sure. I mean, wow, you guys know, you guys already know how important those reviews are for those exclusive professional game journalists. Boy, if those are important, but if say like a friend of yours is playing the game, or someone you know close to a YouTuber or whatever that you really like, and they say that's not good, if they give you their honest feedback and say, you know what, I would actually wait to buy this game until, when they add more stuff, or just say, you know what, I wouldn't waste your time, I would actually purchase it a little bit later on down the line, then that actually, word of mouth wise, will spread farther than you may think. And that will start to get towards more and more people with their initial impressions of the game, saying that it did not live up to their superior, massive expectations that they originally set forth for a game that should have been fantastic for a character like the Avengers.
But like now, I'm actually
when they add Kate Bishop, I'm sure it'll bring back some people, but I don't think it'll be like finally, oh my God, they finally fixed the entirety of the game. No, I think they'll wait until they add more modes, or more popular characters like Black Panther or Spider-Man or whoever. But Kate Bishop, I'm sure it'll bring back some people, but not like, the 98% of players that dropped off the player base for PC/Steam, as well as it not breaking even. That's the main point I want to get at. The game did not break even for its profit costs. For finances, it didn't even make its money back for the development costs. So you can say all you want if you love Avengers. Just know that if you say it was a financial success, you are either misinformed or lying through your teeth. So it's just simple as that.
Well, I'm actually playing the Kate Bishop DLC right now, and so far she's actually really good. I must say, like they've done a really well done job with her combat. Like it really is that good, in my opinion.
That's great. I'm very glad to hear it, because she's not as known, as the other Avengers. So it's like, oh, their first character is a character no one knows of? Okay. Yeah. But then if they actually make her relevant enough and interesting enough for a story, then that's fantastic.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like, if you have Avengers, like, right now, like, definitely give Kate Bishop a shot. Like, you might be surprised. Like, she might be your new favorite character to use, which, in my opinion, she is. So I'm now
a Kate Bishop main. Nobody can take her. She's mine.
Nice.
Thank you. That is until Hawkeye comes out, which then he will be mine. And whoever wants Kate Bishop, they can take it.
Fantastic. Now, as like a comparison, is she almost similar to like the Archer character from like the Ghost of Tsushima Legends mode? Or is she like a little bit more or less powerful in that regard?
Well, I would say, let's see, because I have almost her primary skill tree to the max. Like, I almost have all her skills, and then working on like the mastery and all that stuff. Like, she's really good when it comes to range or close up with her katana. Like, she can deal like a lot of damage depending on, because like one of her gear pieces is her arrows, and like you can either get like gamma tipped arrows, pin particle tipped arrows, like shock arrows, all that stuff. It's really, really handy, and like what they get like done with her her gameplay, it's really, really interesting. And the way that she can like use like the quantum like energy to like teleport all over the place, it's really, really good when you like try to figure out like combos to do with her when you utilize all of her like bow and her katana and like the way that she teleports. Really, really well done. Yeah.
Nice, because I know that you can mix and match with her sword and bow and the quantum energy she has, or like whatever that is, the particle effect stuff, and you can mix that with her combos and her overall moveset.
Yeah. No, she honestly is really, really fun. Yeah, you really should give it a try if you have it whenever you have the chance.
Cool. I will definitely try to see if I can do it later. I probably will end the stream after this mission, you guys, just in advance. But for Avengers, if you guys want me to stream Avengers with Franco and the other members of the Spidey Squad, and even you guys, if you want to join in a party with us, I will be more than happy to. Or even just on my free time, not even during a stream per se, but if I have any free time to just play and hang out during, close to winter break, I would be more than happy to. So let me know. Message me on Twitter or, party chat messages if we're friends on PlayStation Network, since I usually accept every and all friend requests from you guys. Let me know, and I'd be more than happy to try and join in some parties with you guys to play Avengers or whatever other game that you might be interested in. Probably not Call of Duty, because I'm very bad at first-person shooters. Except, oddly enough, for Titanfall. I'm okay at Titanfall, but I think I deleted Titanfall 2 off my library of games, because I had to make space for Miles. But
you insert the SpongeBob character. You what?
You what? Yeah, exactly. That was a mistake. Because it was free, and then I was like, oh, it's free, I can finally try out Titanfall 2, because I know everyone says it's better than the first game. But I ended up, I think, deleting it versus keeping it on my
in my opinion,
library. Like, well, I can have that, or I can delete Spider-Man for space. I'm like, I'll probably delete Titanfall for space to make room for Miles. I'm like, I almost deleted Avengers. Not gonna lie, I almost deleted Avengers at one point. But I'm like, well, they're gonna add more stuff sometime soon, so I'll probably just keep it just in case. God, like literally that thing though, I'm not even kidding. Every other time I log in on my PS4, it almost always seems like there's a patch for Avengers. It's like, holy crap. Like, and that's the thing. Like, they, pretty much gloated, I would say, about the fact that they had over 1,000 bugs that they found for Avengers, by the way. Square Enix reported on that one day, saying, oh, yeah, here's our patch. My voice cracked, but whatever. We have our patch for Avengers, fixing all these issues, fine. It addressed the 1,000 plus bugs that we had in the game. No big deal or anything. Like, excuse me? Like, I had to, like, wipe out, like, my earwax. Like, excuse me? Like, what? Did I hear that correctly? Like, there's not any, like, earplugs in my ears there. 1,000 bugs, you say? Okay. No. No, sir. I do not think so. I would like my money back, or at least, like, a properly developed game. And in reality, that's why the game didn't sell well, because it was unfinished by the time they released it. Now, granted, another delay would have severely impacted it, but making the game run off the bat great firsthand on launch would have been much better than how it shipped initially. And that's where it faltered on release. Sad to say, but that's the truth of the matter. Financially speaking, you could say whatever you want, review-wise and for how you personally view the game, that's totally fine. But from a logistic, factual, financial perspective, it was a loss for Square Enix and Marvel. And that is actually where I'm wondering if that is going to impact the future of their games. Because reminder, they're in a multi-year, multi-game partnership with Square Enix. Marvel Games is with Square Enix. And their second game is rumored to be a fully open world Guardians of the Galaxy game. So if they do that in the future and they don't really make a thoroughly, well-developed game, then there's going to be some problems for the main market of people that they're trying to advertise it to. But hopefully it works out. We'll see. We'll have to wait and see on that front for sure.
Yeah. But also, let's not forget what the president himself of Square Enix, Yosuke Matsuda, and this is a real quote. I'm not lying. I'm not joking.
No, you aren't. Go for it. You are absolutely correct. This whole statement, if you guys don't know about this is insane. Go for it.
Ready?
Yeah.
He said,
most people, for some reason, they forget or they're unaware about this, claim that he made, which is insane.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. So far, Avengers, I think is okay, in my opinion. It's okay. It's not good. It's not bad. It's not perfect. It has some good stuff. It has some bad stuff. But the one thing I will never forgive, what the president of Square Enix himself, Yosuke Matsuda, he said, and I quote, Marvel's Avengers will outperform and outsell both Spider-Man PS4 and the Batman Arkham games.
Absurd. Absolutely insane. We have talked about this previously, but for you guys don't know, that was the news, or the statements that were made from Yosuke himself, Big Man Matsuda, and he obviously said that because of the Avengers brand and the hype of Endgame that was surrounding the property at the time. But my lord, if that was not the most upsetting statement to have blow up in his face after that. So, yeah, that is nuts. Let's see. Resting Tiger Whitey. Hey, having big news from Spider-Man 3 2020. Alfred Molina is coming back as Dr. Octopus. Officially confirmed. You are correct, sir. We have talked about that throughout the entirety of the stream. But, very exciting stuff. Very concerned on my part. I'm not hyped. I'm interested, but not hyped. But I'm willing to give it a chance if the writers can do said actor and character of Otto Octavius justice. Now, again, we don't know. I don't think so, since he's dead in the Raimi-verse. We don't know if this is the same version of Otto from Tobey's films, in the Raimi films, but the actor who played him is coming back as the character of Otto Octavius. So that's literally all we know of so far. But whether or not it will work out, in the sense that they'll make the character properly written and they'll do his character justice with Alfred Molina back as Otto, we will see. But I don't know for sure. I also love, by the way, sidebar, slow-mowing the tricks in Miles during parts of the swinging. It's so good. Oh, fantastic. Let's see, guys, but I think that we've streamed long enough. We've been streaming for 2 hours now. Hopefully you enjoyed. More Miles Morales content to come with the streams in the near future. My goal is to hopefully finish playing or live streaming Miles for New Game Plus before Christmas. And then that way we're fully set and stocked for the next year of content, which, by the way, people have been asking, Evan, what are you planning on doing for the future? Since Miles is out now, we're waiting for the sequel. I don't have the PS5, pain, but also we're also most likely waiting for the future of Marvel's Spider-Man with the sequel, and that Marvel has yet to announce what their next game is other than other content for Avengers. And we're still waiting for the Guardians of the Galaxy team-up game and whatever plans they have in store next. So alongside of that, I am probably going to be still doing videos about the sequel, theorizing and speculating whenever we get more hints and Miles. I have other videos for Miles, planning collabs with other content creators, which will be fun. Avengers, if you guys want me to do videos about the game with the status update financially or the game itself. Because I think you guys, at least the reason why I do the videos is because I like doing them. It's not because of what will get me the most views. That's never been about the views. But for me, I always like talking about the financial statistics and the current status of the game's economic viewpoint, whether that be for Miles or Spider-Man PS4 or Avengers. Because, fun fact, I think you guys have seen it now because the video is up now, but I did a video about that when it first came out, saying that Spider-Man PS4, the PlayStation 4 version of Marvel Spider-Man, officially sold 20 million plus copies worldwide. And that was a huge financial statistic coming from the head of global marketing at Sony himself, David Bohl. He posted that on LinkedIn, talking about the news, and apparently it was a mistake on his part, saying that he was not supposed to put that information out yet, and he asked me to take down my video because I reported on the news that he reported on, so that way it could come off as that he didn't make a mistake when he did. So it's like, I made a video on news that was already out, but I have to take my video down because he made a mistake. The video's back up now, but it only has like 1,000 views because when I put it up initially, I had to put it immediately on private because he asked me to take it down, or else they would have taken it down by force. So it's like, okay, well that kind of pisses me off a bit, but I understand, I guess. But now it's back up. Everything's fine, but my point is, I also did this for Avengers, the same thing. I talked about the financial statistics of Marvel's Avengers, I talked about the financial statistics of Spider-Man PS4, and I will talk about the financial statistics of Miles Morales once we do receive that down the line. But I like talking about the financial reports of these games because it ensures the success that they're having from the general consumers and what their thoughts about it are for an economic standpoint, and seeing how that can translate into future games and future reception of other titles going forward is fantastic. Like, as an example, Persona 5 Royal is like the highest selling JRPG within the Persona series when that game came out in Japan, and that obviously is doing well for sales in the West too, but it's also going to relate to the sales for the sequel, Persona 5 Strikers, when that's coming out in the West in February. So that's where I'm interested in to see how that game will do for sales, especially now with working from home and how that's impacting games and their, how consumers are purchasing them and stuff. So that's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. Gucci bro, and I love your videos, Evan. Thank you, dude. Means a lot. Captain Neri, I'm mad at Hawkeye fell into coma last second. I don't know about if that's relating to the story, but that'd be interesting if that happens. Jupiter, the way he leaps off the rooftops is just full of the exaggerated swagger of a white male privilege. I just shit my pants every time I see it. Touche. That is Peter Parker to a T. That's Peter Parker in the sequel once he wears the black suit. A privileged white male with all the power in the world with the black suit. Too much power can corrupt a man. Have that in mind. But anyways, guys, that has been the live stream for today. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below about Marvel's Spider-Man 3. I think I talked on way longer than I needed to, and I'm so sorry to Franco again if I keep cutting you off with my giant rants. I never am able to do that properly because that's why I never stream, and I don't have a Twitch channel because I'm not used to doing that and reading comments and talking to people at the same time while playing a game. It's all a lot of factors all at once, but I promise I'll get better at it in the future. Any final questions you guys may have for me or Franco about the game or the MCU news or video content or streams and stuff? Let me know. What do you guys? What's on your guys' minds? Or Franco, do you have any questions or any statements you'd like to iterate about Spider-Man or Avengers or anything on your mind?
No, but just the one thing I ask everybody watching the stream, like before this horrible year ends, can we at least do one thing, and that is get my boy, this man, this Chad, Mr. Evan Villarca, to 70,000 subscribers before the end of the year? Can we please do that?
Very kind of you. That's very sweet.
I know.
It's all because of you guys. Again, that's all thanks to all your amazing dedication and support to the channel of 4 long years since June 2016. We're getting closer to the end of this crazy year, but we've been doing the best we can with what we have, and me specifically just being able to do this for a living, and sadly it's taken time away from me spending time with the main men of the Spidey Squad, sadly, with Franco and the other main, of course, amazing people and co-founders with Spidey Bugle and Vigilante Spider and Spidey Skater Boy and Spidey Stretch and Spidey Fan for the Win and Demetrius and Sully and all those amazing people. If I didn't shout you guys out, I love you guys. I think I already said Michael Terry, Talented Gamer HD, of course. I have been sadly so focused on school and the channel that I haven't been able to actually spend time just hang out and chill with them and Discord and stuff, because I've been doing videos after school assignments, after videos, after school assignments in this back and forth rhythm. And now I just had some free time today, and I thought, you know what, let me finally get back to the stream so I can talk about this news with you guys and hang out with you while playing this game that has brought us all together with Miles Morales and Spider-Man PS4. But as a community of fans, and it's all thanks to you guys that I'm able to keep doing what I'm doing. Joshua Elias says, what am I studying? I am studying actually marketing in the sense of community management and social media engagement to hopefully, not any promises, but something in that realm of a occupation or internship at a certain company, I won't specify, to hopefully see if I can fit in with them properly based on my work etiquette and my knowledge of social media and public engagement and stuff like that. And right now I've been passing all my classes, just a small status update for me. Passing all my classes, doing good. Midterms, already passed those. Final exams are coming up soon. Think I'm doing okay with that. I just need to make sure that I turn in my assignments on time. I'm sometimes bad about looking at when these specific things are due because I'm always working on videos or looking up news of stuff, and I don't keep track of when these things are actually supposed to be posted online for the school, the courses I'm taking for school. But it's a lot of community, social media engagement stuff for this certificate I'm trying to acquire in that realm. But hopefully it is going out just fine. For me, right now, it seems to be going well. Just hopefully I can keep at it by the time next year arrives. Alongside of that, again, I'll try and see if I can do more Avengers stuff with you guys playing the game. If you're interested, we can team up. Even on random parties, feel free to invite me on a PSN party, and I can try and join if I ever have time. 70,000 subscribers, like Franco said, would be insane. That's a crazy milestone, but I have faith in you guys and anyone else out there watching who's not yet subscribed. Feel free to do so if you like, but I think right now we're close to 69,000. And that's kind of an awkward number to be in. So if we get a solid 70, that would be fantastic. But if not, it's totally okay. But anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I've taken up enough of your day. Thank you for spending time with me and Franco just talking about Spider-Man and all the stuff that we love about Marvel and comics. And until next time, Franco will surely be in the party again. And if you guys want to join in on the party, I can have like a group chat with you guys and Franco and myself, if that sounds fun to you. And I never schedule these streams. I just do them when I'm able to do them. So hopefully I can do another one like the next few days or maybe next week. But we will see for sure. But until then, last question from Jupiter. How do you feel about Peter and Miles tag teaming to Miles and Peter? I'm assuming you mean how they will tag team in the sequel? Or how I feel about them teaming up in like the future game. That'd be crazy. I think that's definitely going to happen, like a tag team / dual play gameplay element like Batman Arkham Knight did with Batman and his sidekicks. So if they do that with Peter and Miles in the sequel, which I definitely think they hinted at that in this game and the story that they're planning, that would be fantastic. Fatal Idrizzi is from Africa. Thank you, Fatal, for joining. That is incredibly awesome. I hope you're doing well. And I've seen your also message, can you be a part of the Spidey Squad? All you guys are part of the Spidey Squad already. We have an amazing community of fans. It's all thanks to you that the group is even acknowledged in this game, and, in Spider-Man PS4 and Marvel Spider-Man Remastered in the first place. So in my eyes, we're all part of the same Spidey-loving family. But that's all thanks to you guys and your amazing, amazing support. So thank you again. I know I keep saying that again, but it's hard for me to stay off these streams and do a sign-off properly. Franco, you're the best. I'll still hang out with you in this party after this, but we'll definitely bring Franco back in the next stream down the line. But until next time, everyone, thank you all so much for watching. We'll try and stream again sooner or later down the line. Stay spectacular, Spidey fans. Peace out.
Goodbye, everybody.